And welcome, everybody. I am back here on the channel. It is the most earth-breaking, ground-shaking, but never media show money taking, the man, the myth, the legend, the most electrifying YouTuber in YouTube entertainment today, and my co-host and compatriot, cutting it close, Mr. General Zod and PB.
What do you mean cutting it close? I was here just on time.
You know what? That was actually the definition of on time. So, folks, just to give you guys some context, Mr. PB, as I hit the live button, does that whole coming into the stream, the device is booting up as I do my intro, which he probably wanted to get that out of the way. Bam, he jumps right in. That's like the definition of perfect timing.
That's how I roll.
And PB, today, buddy, I sent everything early, and you know what we're talking about.
You sent everything early except for the link for people to join you.
Oh, come on. I mean, I still got to stay
like
villainous.
4 minutes ago.
Come on, I'm still a villain. I still got to stay. I still got to stay somewhat shady. But
sure.
You know what the topic is tonight? Tonight we're gonna dive in
Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars is actually gonna play a part of that. But we're gonna talk about fans tonight.
Star Wars fans?
We're gonna talk about every fan, fans in general, fans and fandom.
You mean like industrial fans, oscillating fans, box fans? What kind of fans? Exhaust fans?
Fans of IPs, right? We're gonna talk about IPs, fans. I wanna go and get some things out of the way because I read some stupid ass articles today and I felt the need to chat about it, and I felt like you would have interesting things to say. So here we are.
I always have interesting things to say.
I know you always do. Before we get all to that, let's go in the chat. We had LB who was here first, so shout out to LB. We have Perp Minded, who will be joining us in a bit. We have Mr.
Allegedly.
Gary North. We have Cybernetic Husky, who said, whoa, on time. I know, right, Cyber? We have the ever mystical, magical, bitchy unicorn, who's a big fan of yours. We have Trey Courtney and GP. Welcome, GP. Always love having you, man.
What's up, Trey? What's up, GP?
So, you know, we got a good starting platform today.
I guess. I mean, we always have a decent platform in the fandom zone.
Oh, hell yeah. And of course, I saved the best for last. The awesome mod pretty much made himself a mod here on my channel, very thankfully. Mr. Tommy. Everybody give Tommy virtual claps. I mean, really,
virtual claps. I would much rather get the virtual clap than the actual clap.
Let me just ask you something. Is it just me? Because I know you jump on different channels too, but do you see Tommy like modding everywhere? I went on John Talks, and I could have sworn that I saw him modding over there too.
You do see him modding on John Talks. He's one of John's best modders, mostly because he's one of the best modders for the entire Fandom Menace.
So definitely a big shout out to him. And you know, there's the appropriate fan love. Oh, I'm sorry, we're not going to use fans here. You know, I don't want to use fans. I'm going to call you guys Zod's friends. Or
oh my gosh, that's what you're using for the thumbnail now?
I thought it would be interesting.
I dig
it. You like it?
I didn't realize that Justin looks so ridiculous in that picture.
That's why I highlighted it.
That's pretty good.
So welcome, everybody. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the fans, but I kind of want to hit this from every angle because there's a difference, okay? There's a difference between giving fans what they want and catering to fans. And it seems like the critics used to know what that meant. And here in the 2000s era, I want to say around 2015, we'll say, just to be fair, 15 through 20 now, they've been skewing the difference between uh just giving fans stuff and actually doing what the fans want. Like fan service as opposed to respecting an IP that is built on a fan base. And I feel like now with Hollywood adopting so many IPs, right? So many things that have been done before, they're using this old mindset that old Hollywood used to use, right? It's like, it's not about the fans when you're creating art, right? It's about the art. Well, that's not true in all cases. If you are making something that it has a built-in fan base, then it is about the art. You could have a different take on it, but it is also about the built-in fan base, you know? And what, at least in my mind, is the two different things between fan service, right, and trying to please everyone
Well,
versus
right.
fandom.
You definitely have to do fan service because I don't suggest that you take the fans and the arts and combine them, because if you take those two things and combine them, you just get farts.
And of course, PB is going to be doing the highbrow humor here tonight.
Super highbrow.
So, PB, let me ask you before I get started on my thing, because you know how Zod can go on a
Oh,
tangent.
fuck.
What in your mind separates, say, a movie that shouldn't be about necessarily pleasing the fans, but like being creative and doing its own thing versus a movie that is geared towards a fan base? You know what I mean? Like, let's say an original idea versus something with a built-in base. How do you feel those things should be approached and treated?
So, something that has the built-in fan base already, whether it be a novel, a comic book, or just previous films, I guess, or a TV show that they're turning into a film or something like that. I think you more often than not, as far as talking about the story, you have to stick with what the fans expect. You can't be taking characters and making them totally ridiculous. That's why nobody liked Luke Skywalker, that was a Star Wars fan for years in The Last Jedi, because they didn't understand what happened to him after you just had, let's say, 3 films over the course of, I don't know, it's in movie time, like 8 to 10 years of character development, and then you just throw it out the window. But something that is a new IP, it has 0 fans, it's starting from scratch. All you have to do is know what audience you're going after. Like, what is the biggest targets that you're going after? If you're making something that is along the lines of a Superman, Iron Man, Batman comic book style movie, you're probably going to want to tailor it more towards the male audience. If you're making something that's more like fucking Twilight, then yeah, make it for fucking teenage girls. Like, that's not for me.
Great point. And before we continue, Mr. Stig, welcome, our Viking friend.
Hi. What the hell did I
Hello,
walk in for?
Stig.
Stig,
How
I'm
are you
gonna
doing
pose the
this
same.
morning?
Hmm?
How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing quite well.
Fantastic.
Now, Stig, I'm gonna pose the same question to you because I'm getting different perspectives, and then I'm gonna kind of give my take. Right? What do you see the difference between doing a like a movie or something like that that's based off of something built and established that has fans versus something you're creating to generate fans? Like, how do you differentiate, and what do you think, where do you think the line is where you should cater to a fan versus, making your own base?
You should honor the source material first and foremost and respect it because you're continuing someone else's work. If you don't respect it, you're ruining it. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point. Now, here
If you're
in
creating
contention,
something new, if you're creating something new, it's all up to you, which sadly Hollywood can't do today. They just have to base everything off something else, which is technically generational appropriation.
I love how you do. I love how you throw that in for all of us old fucks. So let me ask you this follow up now, PB, because I find your answer interesting. In the version of Star Wars, you very eloquently quoted how they should follow the source, right? But I've heard you when it comes to Marvel movies have a different opinion about source material, Mr. PB. So, what makes one different than the other
I can
in
defend
your
TV in
mind?
this because
Go
Where
ahead,
is it?
Stig.
yeah, the Marvel stories has many different timelines, many different incarnations because they keep being rebooted in comics all the time, right? So as long as you just
Yes.
keep to the core of it, you're fine. With Star Wars, it's a continuation. There's no alternate universes or anything. It's one big chunk,
It's
or rather a
one
painting.
story.
Yeah, it's rather one painting, right? Well, Marvel has 50 versions of that painting, so you just pick one.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that as far as fan bases go, the Marvel one might be a little bit more flexible because even if you are, say, a Terrence or a General Zod and have read source material, you feel like that could be deviated from because there's a lot more of it and a lot different continuities. Whereas Star Wars is more of a linear story that has one set specific universe, one specific through line, and that there's no wiggle room to really play with it, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. I
It's
find
Now,
not,
this very.
it's not interesting. It's correct. I'm always correct.
I won't argue it,
No, you won't.
Ewan.
Then you'd be wrong. Continue,
So
he's
please.
just doing the Jedi mind trick on you. You will not argue with me. I am always correct.
Oh, he knows better. You may
No,
continue,
but
Mr.
getting
Paul.
back more to the comic book side of it, to Stig's point, you have those different timelines, but in how many of those timelines is Batman a murderous psycho?
Very true. There was
Exactly. You have to keep the character, you have to keep his essence the same. That's all you have to do when it comes to a comic book property, which is why people have a problem with Batman versus Superman when he just pulls out in his Batmobile and he's like, you know what? Instead of taking these guys down and arresting them, I'm just going to unload my 45s into their back. And if they weren't dead, I'm going to attach them with a cable to the back of my Batmobile and drag them along for the ride to make sure they're dead. Like, that's a slight difference for Batman.
Yeah.
Good points. And here's the thing. I want to quote someone, Scotty Boy Mendelson, Scott Mendelson, our favorite pompous asshole at Forbes. All right. Now, there seems to be amongst the refined critics, the top echelon of telling us what is good in all of arts, right? There seems to be this idea that what they're doing with their movies, like I'll use Sonic because it's the newest thing, right? They feel like they're catering to the fans, that they're ruining the movie by putting in fan service and going through the trouble of changing things to make it better because of what people wanted. Now, where do you guys land with this? And I'll give my opinions after you guys go.
Why wouldn't you cater to the fans? The fans are the people that go and see your movie. I will guarantee you that when Sonic was being made the first time with the ridiculous looking Sonic, Freddie Prinze Jr. was not going to buy out fucking theaters to prove a point how Hollywood's great when they just stick with their own vision. What a dick.
Stig, how do you feel about that? And you know what? We're not going to go into like a Sonic talk. I'm just using this as an example because it's a good example, and I want to highlight some things about that movie just to get it out of the way. But go ahead, Stig. What do you feel about it? Do you think that Scotty Boy Mendelsohn is right, that they shouldn't just bend over backwards and cater to these basement dwellers and these man babies and these people living with their mothers?
If they don't do it, the movie will flop because they are the target audience. In any franchise, right? The reason a franchise becomes a franchise is because of the fans. They're like the heart and the bloodstream of the franchise. If you take that away, you get a corpse, like Birds of Prey.
Exactly. So now here's my take. Look, I gave a rating on Sonic, and I said I gave it an 8, and I was very clear in the beginning. I'm biased as shit because I'm a fan of Sega in general, but I did point out the flaws in the movie. There are a great deal of flaws in that film. It's very geared towards kids, okay? And I really think that the hardcore Sega fan base will get what they like, but the casual moviegoer might not enjoy it as much. But then again, at my theater, everyone was laughing, adults too. I mean, so it might just hit. But my whole point being is that it isn't by any means this earth-shattering thing. It's not like people are hyping it up. I agree with Perp. Like, there's a lot of hype around it, but I think that the hype is the fact that someone actually listened to people. I think the important part to highlight about this film is the fact that there was someone who listened to what the people had to say, and as a result, as a byproduct of listening to what people were saying, now people want to spend their money because people felt like they were heard. Now, there's a difference here between listening to a honest to God good critique, like your fucking Sonic looked terrible and quite possibly scary, versus listening to someone about, say, a plot point or things like that. Like, I think we critics, they're in this old mindset where when you listen to someone about how they perceive a movie should go, that's different versus listening to a fan of an established franchise that's already been set and how it should go following that corresponding story. That is the difference that the media doesn't seem to separate in their comments, right? They look at every piece of property as just a film, and they don't take into consideration the history behind that.
But to play devil's advocate a bit, though, I think a lot of people are also praising it that little bit of extra because it serves as a passive attack or an indirect attack on Birds of Prey.
Yeah, and I said in my review, I don't want to compare it just because Birds of Prey came out. That's not what I want to do. I want to do it on its own, because what fucking pissed me off about Battle Angel Alita is I felt like people were just hyping it up, not like how I was, because I've seen the manga. I mean, I've read the manga, I've seen the anime. I know the lore, as opposed to people just going, oh, Captain Marvel sucks, so let's hype up Battle Angel Alita.
Yeah, it's the same thing happening now.
It's Alita Battle Angel, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's the same thing happening now. So people are hyping up the competition of a movie they clearly don't like.
Are we talking about that mediocre movie Sonic?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it was above mediocre, but Zod, I have a bone to pick with you. How dare you? What gives you the right to put my face in the thumbnail?
You're in the bridge crew.
How dare you put my face in the thumbnail without my permission? You're using my likeness. How dare you?
That's right.
I'm not really that
take him
big,
to court.
so. Yeah, I mean,
In
I can
Candor.
get
Oh,
How
wait, it
dare
blew
you?
up.
How dare you do that? You ask me next time. I
so
am kidding. I am kidding. But how dare you? How dare you,
so
Zod? Okay,
so
just for anybody who thinks I was being having one iota of seriousness, you're all correct. I was being 100% serious the entire time.
Well, I'm sure Mr. McCheese will take it out of context.
Oh,
so
I don't know who that is, but
so let me just get this question to the newest members of the panel. I'll start with Perp. Perp, I just asked Stig and PB who answered this. Well, what to you is the difference between, say, a movie that comes out and is starting to build a base versus the movie that has an established base? Do you think one is beholden more to the fans than the other?
I mean, I think it's kind of like a double-edged sword because I feel like just with social media, everything's going to kind of be hyped up either way by the fans of it, or people are just wanting to hop on that bandwagon and whatnot. So,
Do you think that they should stick more closely to what the fans want in an established movie? I use Star Wars because that's the easiest, right? It has the established base, established story. Do you think they should stick more to that, or should they listen to Scott Mendelson's take and just be like, forget giving the fans what they want because they don't matter. It's about the art.
I mean, I'm not with that. I mean, you should give the fans what they want, but at the same time, fans are never pleased. So, it's you're never gonna win with that.
yeah, you're never gonna win with asking a question like that. Like the way you phrased it, like, oh, would you rather like stick it with the fans want or Scott Mendelson? That's not a great unbiased question to ask.
Because when I'm watching a movie, I'm like, all right, so all they did is change Sonic. So people's biggest gripe about the movie, if they never changed it, is that Sonic looks weird. But
Well,
it's still a good
well,
movie.
well. The movie does show that, like, if you, for me, like, if I saw Sonic like that the entire time, I would just be like, "Oh my god, Sonic is freaky! I can't stop focusing on that." I wouldn't even pay attention to the mediocre story.
I can
But now
answer
I'm
this
less.
question
Now
right
I'm
away.
less focused on, how terrible Sonic looks because Sonic doesn't look terrible. He looks like the video game that I played. So I kind of believe it, even though the first act has a missing mother, which is never brought up ever again.
There's a lot of like
And
kind of
there's
things that
also
can
like
be
at the
left
very
scratch.
end,
All right, hey,
the third act.
hold. No, we are not
Third act
talking
is
Sonic.
very.
We're staying on the topic of fans tonight. I'm not diving into that, at least not until it's a little bit. It's got a little bit more of a run. I don't want to do any kind of Sonic talk. I'm just using it as a
Oh no,
point of
no, no!
reference.
I'm not spoiling anything. I'm just saying that it was very mediocre. It was
Well-
a kind of a lackluster third act.
Well, Zod, right? Remember Lord of
Yes.
the Rings?
Yes.
That one
Which
followed
one?
the books as closely as possible. And look what happened. All
Which
three.
one? All three
All
of them
three.
as a whole?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They followed the source material as closely as possible. Look what happened. 13 Oscars.
Yeah. That is a
Then-
great example, right? Because
Yeah, and
they didn't
then
deviate.
look at Game of Thrones. They ditched the source material. Ruined the whole show.
But like that's the thing too. You can go
They
like
ran out
away
of it.
from you can go away from the source of material. It just depends on who's writing it. Some people just don't really think things through or nothing like that. Like I I want to compare it to like The Leftovers. Like The Leftovers, that's my favorite show I've ever seen. So that's based off a book also, and like I think they only adapt like just the one book, and then they just go 2 seasons past that, and that's where they end it. So it's only like 3 seasons, but the way they just did their own thing with that it worked. So
Well, like I said, the Lord of the Rings went for pleasing the fans. and they respected the source material when they did it, and that was a massive success. So
I don't think it was a matter of, like, oh, like we just want to please fans. No, I think Peter Jackson just went out trying to, do faith with being faithful to the source material, not necessarily pleasing fans. Just
he
I think that was more of being faithful to the source.
no,
material.
he had added Arwen to the Helm's Deep battle, and the fans got pissed, so he removed her because he wasn't supposed to be there. He had added her just
Okay,
to.
that's one example, but I mean, I'm talking about like when he was going out and doing it, just as a collective, like when he first started it, before he had released Fellowship, even. That's all he was trying to do.
And I want to bring up another point too, because I feel like the cinema landscape in general has changed. Okay, we're not really getting that many original ideas. Look at what's coming out. Everything's being adapted, or is being copied from something else, right? So this is the problem that Hollywood is going to constantly run into. Any kind of book or anything else like that, if people know what you're adapting from, that's a naturally built-in base. Now take an original movie, right? An original movie idea. You have to build up your base. So then that's when the creative aspect comes in and people flocking to your idea, right? So I think it's two different, very different beasts when you're talking about reviews. And like, even with something that's adopted from a source, I try to look at it purely from a film point. Okay, how is it shot? How is it cut? Do I understand the story?
You are a
Is the
liar.
story
You're
any
such
good?
a liar. Every comic book movie that comes out, you go, that's not how it was in the comic book.
No, you are mistaking me, sir, for Mr. Terrence.
Kind of true. That's kind of true. Nobody.
No, I point out some things.
Nobody gave a fuck before, except for you. Complaining about little things. Yeah, I mean, you do that.
They're not little things.
A lot of them are. A lot of them are.
They got you, Zod. Sorry.
They're very little things, especially when it makes sense in the universe that the movies have already created.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about original films.
They're adapting it in order to fit what they have already. They're doing their own thing. It's not going to be otherwise. Spoiler alerts in the comics. And nobody wants to see like the same exact stories from the comics. They want a little bit of a surprise. So,
okay, I mean, you're talking about original films. Maybe the problem is with the people that have the money because they're not willing to finance these original films because they don't already have the built-in fan base and they're worried they're not going to make the money back on their investment.
That's why all the films who lose money win Oscars, except for Joker.
No, not necessarily true.
No, I know that's not entirely true, but a lot of them are like at the end of the year, and they don't make any money because no one's ever heard of them, and no one wants to see a lot of them, or just not a great word of mouth, except for in Hollywood for Oscar season, showing them off in retirement homes to Academy members. So they get nominated. I don't know, things like that. But I don't know.
Right,
yeah,
so
a lot of people haven't, really cared about that because, it's not made by big studios, these original films. That's why they don't get that much exposure.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that with the way that Hollywood, maybe that they've been the ones who have created this trend themselves, because the way that they've pushed certain things, right? They've put people into that. No. I'm talking about making films in general. Do you think maybe getting away from the creative filmmaker and the new idea that they have, in a sense, sort of gotten the public used to these recycled ideas? That now people don't want to go and see a movie that's outside of the box and has a creative thought because they're like, oh, well, I don't know what this is about. I never heard. This isn't related to anything that I know. Do you think
Yep.
that has kind of created a societal way of looking at things?
Well, this has been going on since the millennium, pretty much. It's been riddled with just so many remakes. I mean, even ideas that you think you're like, oh, that's a pretty unique idea. Remake. Like the two that surprised me that a lot of people have known for many years, but I didn't know until like I don't know 5-10 years ago, whatever it was. Like The Parent Trap. I was like, oh, the one with Lindsay Lohan remake. I'm like, what? What? I thought that was so good. Just that's a remake. Well, they did the same thing, but a unique twist to it. Same with Freaky Friday. These remakes. These things have been going on.
Wait,
for so
what's the
long.
unique twist in the Pan Trap?
The Parent Trap. I don't know. They do it in a much different way. Like they both like go to Camp in America and
Talking
I
about the
don't know.
Lindsay Lohan one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because of what they do with the stepmother or the evil woman, whatever. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what her name is. The blonde chick.
So
yeah, I
let
don't
me
remember her name either.
Yeah, it
let
doesn't
me
matter.
ask the rest of the panel here, and I'll
I've been going
start
on
with.
for too long. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It's all right. Let me
Remakes
go
are not
to.
new. TLDR.
Let's go to PB. PB, do you think that maybe the audience has been conditioned to sort of accept these retrends, rehashes, remakes, and that people who come out with a creative idea might not be able to get a word in edgewise because of the fact that the audience is kind of being enslaved to this reboot system?
Yes, I would say that we are definitely on the smaller end of the power stick. Like, we don't decide typically what we get to see. Like, they say, oh, well, this is a hot property right now. Well, what's making it a hot property? I don't know. Like, what made Captain Marvel a hot property? Because it sure as hell wasn't the comic book. It sure as hell wasn't the actor. Oh, it was the fact that it was an MCU movie, period. That was the only thing that made it a hot commodity. That's it.
Yeah, that's
so
very.
The branding of stuff is what makes it a hot commodity. I mean, there's not a lot of people out there that go out for a cheeseburger from Wendy's compared to a cheeseburger from McDonald's. That's just how it works. And the cheeseburger from Wendy's tastes better.
Absolutely. Facts.
Well,
I'm so glad you said that.
The audience have been dumbed down.
That's what I'm
absolutely.
saying.
Let's use the perfect example of this is horror. Sorry, Perp. Me and you both love this genre, but let's be real. Horror has become 95% fucking jump scares. And I love The Conjuring, but I really feel like the Conjuring universe fucked everything as far as horror goes because they crafted a movie around jump scares and made it effective. But now, if you go into a horror movie, right, and you go into an intelligent horror movie that maybe scales down how they do the music and things like that, and it's just like psychological, a lot of people come out and go, that was stupid. I didn't get it. I wasn't scared because they become used to hearing a loud sound. And like I watched fucking Fantasy Island, which by the way is complete trash, but I watched Fantasy Island.
It is.
And they do a fucking jump scare, right? And the lady's looking in the mirror. There's nothing off to the side or anything like that. She just looks in the mirror and the speakers go boom. And I'm like, what the fuck was the point? Me and Bitchy looked at each other and I'm like, did it a ghost or something? Did I miss something? She goes, no. They just did it for her looking in the mirror. I go, yeah, I'm not fucking crazy, right? They just did a scare at her looking at her.
No. You are fucking crazy.
Otherwise,
I mean,
we wouldn't be sitting here talking to you.
Correct.
But I mean, I mean, Perp knows what I'm talking about too.
And you know
I'm
what?
s-
You know what, man? I just
I
have to
somewhat
say
agree with
though.
that.
I have to say though, it's kind of sad that you said that. Like, it's sad that The Conjuring it's not even worthy of having a universe.
I disagree with that.
It's a shitty movie. I don't care if it's based off of a true story. I'm not
Wait,
buying that shit.
which one is
Not
which
buying it.
Conjuring?
I'm not gonna be affected by something and say, oh, based on a true story. I'm like, okay, but was I affected by the movie? I don't care if it's based off of true events or not. It was still like Insidious Chapter 3. It has the same fucking
Whoa,
guy in it. The same
relax.
fucking guy from the Insidious
You're talking about the
movies,
first Conjuring movie?
Yes, the first
Oh,
Conjuring
you're tripping.
movie. The first Conjuring movie also has the same whatever lead man dude from Insidious, and I was just like, okay, I was told that this was going to be a great film. I just sat there. I was just like, that's the same kind of shitty jump scares as Insidious. Same exact thing, except it was boring. I managed to. I experienced boredom. Boredom with just doors opening and it's
That's actually a really good.
Squeaky squeak. Are you scared?
with a little child's plaything coming to life. And I'm supposed to be scared by that. Like, no. And some shit in the
That's
basement.
Annabelle.
Isn't there some shit in the basement too? Something happens down there.
Not exactly. It's just like it's pretty. The first Conjuring's all about this witch. Like they
No,
tease
I
Annabelle.
know it's
tease
about that
Annabelle at
bitch.
the
I don't
beginning.
really like. I know what it's. I know. I get it, but it's just. Anyways, but it's so interesting though. Going back to Zod, I think it's so interesting that you mentioned that this ruined horror. This ruined horror. I mean, that's
Horror.
Do you know, like how long I've been going on of how shitty The Conjuring is right now, and you said it ruined horror. I don't understand. That's what he said. He said horror.
Yeah, horror with an A.
Oh, is there a difference?
No, I meant horror.
Yeah, horror with an A.
With
a New York
and
A.
R. Or horror.
Horror.
Horror. Yeah.
I'm not
we're
drunk.
all saying the same
thing. No, I'm saying that. I'm saying that the way that the jump scares are being used, because here's what happens: one movie comes out that utilizes a particular thing well, and it uses it to the effect of that movie, and then 15 fucking other movies come out and want to do that same exact thing to get the same exact crowd, and it's become this thing now where the average horror fan is starting to think that it's about the jump scares and not about the fucking story. Like,
it's
for
always
instance,
been about the jump scares, never about the
that
story.
is bullshit. That is total bullshit. Look at Halloween. Look at Nightmare Before Nightmare on Elm Street. I was gonna say Nightmare Before Christmas. Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare Before Christmas is pretty fucking creepy too.
I'm clearly not talking about all horror films, you jackass. I'm talking about the ghost movies, The Conjuring, like that shit.
You could say what you want about like the spin-offs of Conjuring, but like the main series has been solid. Like James Wan knows how to do horror. He's been doing it. He's been doing that.
Yeah,
really
he
well.
does. He does, and he has two movies called Insidious Chapter 2. That's where I think he did it very well, and it was entertaining. It was very entertaining. It had a comical aspect to it, which I rather enjoyed, and also Tiny Tim rules.
And I mean, and here's the thing: like, I've seen other good horror movies like the Babadook, and
Are you kidding me?
That's
some people don't see about the Babadook. I really like the Babadook because, like, if you watch the trailers,
But
That shit
why?
sets you up because like it's more psychological. It's not about the jump scares. People think like, oh, this is
Exactly.
gonna be a
I
regular
see.
like monster movie, but it's all like psychological. That's
Okay.
what makes it brilliant.
Or look
Okay,
at
that's a real reason.
Hereditary.
That's a real reason. I just thought that they were like I thought you were about to say the jump scares were effective or something stupid like
No.
that. I was like,
No.
because that's what I've heard so many times with the Babadook for whatever reason.
No,
I don't
and
get
that's
it.
the thing though people don't get is that the original concept, like for horror in general, look at like
He
back
said
in the
horror.
day.
He said it. He said it, PB.
Okay.
I love it.
Look at back in the day, like Alfred Hitchcock and things like that, right? What was terrifying about those were that they were psychological. They got into your head, right? That to me is what is truly terrifying. Something that gets inside and is just disturbing
It's like that
on
Elm
that
Street.
level.
That literally
Yeah.
gets like the first one, at least.
Yeah, like Nightmare on Elm Street, like, fuck, didn't want to go to sleep. Those creepy ass little fucking girls sitting there with their fucking jump rope talking about Freddy's comment. I want to run those fucking girls over with a fucking school bus. Why are you out there singing all creepy, like jumping in the middle of fucking
They're just
road?
playing jump rope and singing a song. What's wrong with that?
That's two things that will always be
Well, why are you
effective.
talking about running them over with a bus?
That's two things that will always. That's
No,
two things
if
that
I
will
hear
always be.
someone going, 1, 2, Freddy's coming, before they finish their sentence, I'm fucking shooting them.
That's two things.
Better lock the door.
I love that voice crack.
That's two things that are going to always be effective in horror movies: is old people and old people especially. Like if you've ever seen The Visit, that shit is so get under your
fucking
under your
old
skin.
people. They're creepy
Like,
as shit.
When you see The Visit and you see the old lady underneath the crawl space, that shit is fucking. I don't even want to think about that right now.
Like, look at this comment. Read this comment, PB.
Oh, I will say though,
Oh,
Dead
God.
Silence is like, well, they're not. It's not a ghost movie, but it's the closest thing to a ghost movie that I find acceptable. Exorcist is funny. It doesn't count.
No,
Alpho
Exorcist is
Mar
fucking-
Datillo says, Babadook is horror? I
Absolutely.
haven't seen it, but I thought it's comedy because of its title.
Oh, it is
Yeah,
a comedy if you view it
yeah,
that way.
You laugh now, but when you see that shit will fuck you up. Like that shit is
No,
I
really.
still have yet
No,
to
it'll-
see
it'll-
any movie anywhere as close to as scary as E.T.
Actually, that's very true. As a child, I was absolutely terrified as a 6-year-old. That's why I could not watch. After the Reese's Pieces thing. I was just like, no, I'm just gonna eat the Reese's Pieces for myself, so the guy doesn't follow me. That was my reaction. I was just like, no, Elliot, don't do that, you idiot. And it was funny. It was funny when I was, watching that movie. It was being advertised as like for the 20th anniversary. If you guys remember it, it was in theaters for a while. So that was cool.
So here's the thing, though, that I want to talk about. So with fans, right? You've got, in my mind, you have two separate kind of fan bases. You have IP fans, right, that are built into a particular brand or a particular show, movie, whatever the case may be. And then you have a fan base of a genre, right? And within that, you can be more flexible. They're just fans of, like, say, horror, drama, thriller, action, adventure, right? So you have a little bit more leeway to play around with that genre. But with an IP, it's more strict, right? But then there's the other end of it. And Perp brought up a good point that I wanted to mention. Within IPs, when is it okay to change that to update it? Because let's be realistic. Things in order to sell, and let's just look at this from a pure business standpoint, they do have to change and evolve with the times, right? If you want to make something relevant, even if people don't want to admit it, and don't burn me in the comments, but it's the truth. If you want things to be relevant in a new era, you do have to change with the times. So I want to ask the panel,
Okay, change with the times.
example,
So you're telling me James Bond is supposed to be trans?
Okay, hold on, I'm getting to that.
I think
My
it was
question
more of
is,
I think it was more of a justification for why Twilight exists.
no,
Fair enough.
let me,
Yeah,
Let-
changing with the times, you know.
no, let me
Vampires
finish.
are such old
So,
news from the Dracula days of the 60s with Peter Cushing. And now we have to make
so
them
my
sexy.
question is, hey, Justin, silence.
That's the kind of justification you're going with, Zod, just so you know.
No, my thing is, where in an IP, okay, say you want to update, you want to keep it fresh, you want to maybe get some new people. What kind of changes do you feel are acceptable to sort of update an older IP? Say one that's been around 20, 30 years, and maybe you just want to tweak some things to draw in that new base, right? What to
Fire
you,
Zod.
what to you would be a suitable change? And I'm not talking gender swapping and all that other bullshit that Hollywood seems to think is the way to go. And I'll start with PB. What for you would be an acceptable update to a character that makes it fresh, but as you stated with Marvel, doesn't change the core of the character?
Well, I mean, if we're talking something like that, technology can always be updated because of the year that you're living in. So if you have to bring a character like we'll take a classic one like Dracula, and you're gonna bring him into the 21st century, like I would think that Dracula over, a couple years would learn how to use a cell phone. Like having Dracula use a cell phone, I would think would be semi-appropriate in a movie.
That's a
Like
very
like the Eddie Murphy shit, Vampire in Brooklyn.
Oh my God,
Right.
I love that movie, Perp. We are so on the same. That movie is fucking gold. Comedy gold. I love that fucking movie. I was laughing my ass off.
What was good?
Vampire in Brooklyn
Oh, okay.
with Eddie Murphy, and he plays Dracula. If you haven't seen the movie and you want to laugh your ass off, oh my God, that movie was so fucking criminally underrated when it came out. Angela Bassett is in it, and she's
I mean,
like his love interest.
I would say that most of my updates for characters would almost exclusively come down to the technology because I don't see a reason to do the race swapping and the gender swapping and all that stuff just so you can score virtue points with whatever group of people isn't in your fan base that you're trying to get into your fan base. Like, you don't need to do that. Just stick in your demographics. Like, you don't need to get a bunch of gay people to come to a James Bond movie. That's not your demographic. You just need to get regular
Some of us
fucking
like
people
James
out there.
Bond. Come on. Some people
What?
some people go there for Pierce Brosnan. Some of the gays do.
I'm not saying that they don't. We were talking about who should you be catering to. You shouldn't be changing the
at least
story
make
of a
Graham look
character or the basis of a character just to cater to somebody that you're hoping might come to your movie.
Yeah, but see, the gays are still gonna like it anyways because, I mean, let's face it, Pierce Brosnan is a good-looking guy. Sean Connery. I mean, don't tell me it doesn't appeal to men too. It's for
I'm
everyone.
not saying that it
James
doesn't.
Bond is for everyone.
It was an abstract example.
No, I know. That's why I'm like agreeing with you. Like, it doesn't matter, who you like.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Why try to cater towards somebody that they'll like it because they like it. It doesn't matter.
What about
Right.
you, Perp? How do you feel about it?
What you mean?
Do you think that okay, so when they're approaching these
Why can't you just
IPs,
ask him the same question you asked me? You
Well,
don't
they're
remember the question you asked me?
I'm getting to that. You interrupting SOB,
Fair enough.
when they're approaching an IP, right? How do you feel that they should make updates on a character? Do you think they should keep the core the same, or what should they change to bring in a new crowd, right? Say you have a franchise that's like 40 years old, right? What to you should be changed to make it more appealing to a new Democrat?
Hmm. I mean, there's some things that have caught back from the past that are able to, you know, keep with the times now and still please, like, its core fan base. So I don't
Okay,
really know
that's
how to
very
answer
good.
that.
Give me
So,
an example.
oh, it's like I don't know if anybody saw the Invader Zim movie or the
Yep.
Rocko's Modern Life uh movie that's on Netflix. That I think that did it perfectly. They just set it up like, oh, Rocco's been gone for X amount of years. He's been in space this whole time. Finds his way back to Earth, and Earth's changed. You got smartphones and all this shit now, and it worked. It's like it's like it's just like the world around it kind of just got with the times and stuff. So it's pretty interesting, but you know they try to do too much pleasing of other groups of people and whatnot, and I think that's what kind of fucks certain things up. And they don't really try to make their own nostalgia. They always have to go back, and I don't know. It's weird.
But okay, so same question to you, Proper. What do you think is, say, acceptable, and then what can you kind of deviate off to make it fresh and new to get those new people in that they're always talking about?
I think, the same thing Perp said, except, he was talking about somebody who was just kind of introduced in today, but people remember him from the past, and that's kind of the time that he was stuck from, and just kind of came into this world. A good example with that is, a guy whose world has changed. The world has changed around him to today, but he is stuck back, in the 80s, I guess, and that's Cobra Kai. Johnny Lawrence is that
Yep.
kind of gateway, and then he adapts to modern time, and everything in terms of social media matters in that show.
That's an excellent example, and I like you using Cobra Kai, because Cobra Kai is the
Never die.
perfect sort of vehicle for that, right? You can play around with those characters, make them relevant for a new time, and introduce new people that we grow to love and care about because of how you do it.
Yep.
Here's another example, like Stranger Things. That's technically it's original. I guess it's original. I don't know if that's based off anything that I know.
It's not based off anything. No, it's
Yeah,
completely original.
So it's like, yeah, it's original, but it takes place in a certain time period.
Yeah, it's just it's a period piece. That's all.
Yeah.
That's why they have all the nostalgia vibes, and the fucking never-ending story.
That's gonna be remade soon. I don't know who owns that. I don't know if that's
that was
Disney.
actually, what? Funny enough, Lucasfilm, not Lucasfilm, actually Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy was going to remake the Neverending Story with Leonardo DiCaprio's company or whatever in like 2009, and then they gave up in 2011. And then a year later, Kathleen Kennedy gets Lucasfilm. So
mark my word. Yeah,
that's why another reason why I hate the Neverending Story. It should have gotten
mark my word.
remade.
You're going to see either a rebooted movie or a CW series.
Good.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Before we get into that horrible news, let me just highlight Mr. Biden Touch here. Says the updating in Cobra Kai is also a vehicle for humor. I 100% agree, right? They interweave the humor around the new terminologies and slangs and the way social media is, right? So they play with modern times and how they are, and they use that also to add to comedic effect, which just signifies excellent fucking writing. A writer who understands that how to use modern times. And here's the thing, right? Writing. So let me go to my next question here. How many of you guys think that having a good, and this is kind of an easy question, but I'm going to ask it anyways, because it's important to this whole fan talk. Having a good fucking writing team is crucial when you're doing this. Like writers who know and understand what they're adapting. And I'll start with PB because we went through Game of Thrones together. We've been through that hell and lived and made it on the other side.
I mean, a good writer is very important, but I would say that somebody who understands the character is more important, because you can always bring somebody in after the fact if you have clunky dialogue or if something sounds funny after you've recorded it and you're like, no, it doesn't sound right to me. It doesn't sound natural. You can go back and change it. What you can't go back and change is the story that you're crafting. And if the story that you're crafting is shit, then you'll be up the creek without a paddle.
That's very good. That is a good point I didn't even think of, right? You could still have dialogue that's fucked and have someone come in and correct it, but the story has to be solid. That's good points. What do you think, Perp, about the writing team? Yeah. Do you think that you have to have an effective writing team as well to craft and to adapt and to understand what they're crafting and making?
Yeah. Because if you have shitty ass writers, you're gonna get shitty, a shitty product at the end of it. But also depends on what type of tone you're going to go for. Some people don't like those super complex stories. I love complex stories and stuff like that. It's just like multi-layered. Some people just like the straightforward shit. Some people like want to just have some shit to just completely turn their brain off and ignore all the issues in the fucking in the show.
Yeah,
That's what I say, like
perfect. Just to highlight that point for a second, a perfect example of that is Picard. I feel like Picard, I literally have to just watch like the laser beams are shooting, because the fucking story
They're
is
not laser
so.
beams, they're phasers, you dick.
I'm sorry, I'm a Kryptonian. We have lasers. Anyways, I feel like the story is so simplistic. The story is so mediocre that I'm like forced to dumb down logic. Hold on a second. It's just the garbage. I brought the garbage. No, it's just garbage.
Holy fucking shit. Are you kidding me right now? Oh my god. The fandom zone mobile has been infiltrated by some raccoon who was getting into his garbage and he had to shoo him away.
Speaking of garbage, that is a spoiler for Sonic. There are a bunch of Zod sources on there.
Stop doing that,
my
Bert.
creative team. My creative team does make an appearance.
No
you'll
big
notice
spoilers.
them. Okay, I'm sorry. I spoiled the major plot point. Zod sources are in the movie. Sorry. Big spoiler. You'll see them. They're actually, what happened was on the day of filming, they weren't supposed to be in the movie. They were just gathering some news and happened to be caught in the shot. So thank you to Sega for including some of my sources. I appreciate you guys.
As you should.
But before I got detracted by raccoons, so yes, a good writing team. You brought up some good points too about the writing overall. Proper. What do you feel about a writing team, and do you feel like they have to be competent in not only adapting the source but also crafting dialogue and things like that. Like, do you feel like you have to have a competent writing team?
Absolutely not. I think that's what makes movies more interesting.
Oh, that's an interesting. Do elaborate.
Well, I mean, how much, how entertaining it must be to have two completely different creative sides just kind of clash together and make a shit sandwich.
Yeah, it's called episode 8 and 9.
Mm-hmm. And we can't forget the start of the shitter, episode 7.
Yeah, that was just walking into the bathroom.
Oh no, that was like that. That was your ass opening up for Lucasfilm to fuck you for 8 and 9.
Feel like that's a little too graphic.
Oh no, that's not. No, that's exactly how I felt with 8. It's exactly how I felt. It was terrible. It was a terrible feeling. Everything felt uncomfortable and everything hurt. It was awful. No, but seriously though, like it was, you know what I mean. Moving on.
And I just want to highlight something from GP. He says at Pop Culture PB, really at General Zod's Fandom Zone? Your sources are they Tails, Shadow, Amy, and Knuckles? If only Zod could get help like that.
Interesting.
Hello, Will Gentry.
Okay.
He says, "What up, ladies and jelly spoons?"
Did he really just say ladies and jelly spoons?
Yes.
Did he really say that?
You think I could be that creative?
What the fuck, Will? What the fuck?
See, right there.
So, if you guys just joined us, we are talking about fans. We're talking about different aspects of approaching IPs versus a regular creative project. So, let's talk about some things here. Now, I understand some of the media's comments and what I think, because it's hard to understand the media in general, but what I think what they're going for, which is back in the day when something came out, right? It was about the artistic style of the film, because you had to build up that fan base. Let's take like Blade Runner or one of those, right? An original idea. You came up with something thought-provoking and out of the box, but you were trying to establish a fan base for that film, right? So you can say, oh, this is a creative work of art and it does something different and unique and fresh, right? But it wasn't an established thing. It was just starting to establish itself, and then it builds its following. There's been a lot of movies that some people consider absolutely terrible, but they get a cult following. There's certain people who like those films. So
yeah,
let me just go down the line.
Yeah, there's a lot of examples. Yeah.
Let's go down the line. For you guys, what would you consider a cult following that just built its fan base organically versus something that is established? So PB, what do you think has built its base off of having to be artistic and creative? What would be the first thing that comes to your mind?
Artistic?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I'm not the person to come to on that. I don't know artsy fartsy bullshit.
Just what to you that comes to mind when you think of a movie that's not attached to an IP or something, just something kind of unique on its own, but it got you because of how it was made?
Final Destination.
There you go. That's a great example. The original Final Destination. Good one. And what pulled you in about that?
I mean, technically, me personally, I got pulled in by the second one because of the opening scene of it. I think is one of the greatest opening scenes of just about any movie that I've ever seen, because it's epically awesome. Like, imagine everybody dying in essentially the same way, because it's everyone dying in a car accident, but all of the car accidents are different in their own individual way. It's a great opening scene to set the stage. Now, the first one was a bit more basic in the way that it was set up, but the lore that is established in that first movie is incredibly deep.
I love it. Love that answer. Great answer. Perp, what to you is a
I would say Parasite.
yeah, I would strongly agree with you. Yeah, that's
I didn't see it yet.
You have to watch that, PB. It's
I don't
fire.
think that you can count that one yet. Like, it hasn't had time to build that cult following. It hadn't even been a year.
It's already almost been out for a year. That shit's came. It's been
Yeah,
out.
that's what I'm talking about. Is movies that have a cult following are ones that didn't have any kind of popularity when they were coming out in the theater and then built their following after the fact. That's typically what that means.
Okay, so it's not connected to anything.
I know it's tough to think of ones like that that aren't connected to anything at all. Like, can't be connected to a novel, can't be connected to a comic book.
Go to proper. I should be able to. I should be able to find one because that's a good question.
What's the question?
what to you was let's we're going in the heads of the critics. What to you was artistic? It hadn't really. It's not connected to an IP. It just kind of built its own thing, like a cult kind of a following.
An example from what time?
Oh, wow,
Doesn't
you're
necessarily
going
matter.
Yeah, just
What
pick
do you mean
anything
from
that
what
comes to your
time?
head.
The Matrix.
Anytime since 1939 till now.
The Matrix.
That's an excellent example.
Close. The Matrix
The
runs that
Wachowski
fine line of it was
Come
a blockbuster when it came out.
Yeah, it was a blockbuster and it was an original idea. So was Fight
Yeah,
Club.
they stole.
I mean, are we counting blockbusters on this list?
Sure.
I mean, if we're counting blockbusters in this idea,
a good original idea.
You gotta. How do you not
that
include
developed a cult
Star Wars
following.
and Indiana Jones?
The criteria was to
He
go
said
by
cult
like
classic.
followings.
Cult classics are
Which
not
they-
blockbusters.
But they're also cult classics too, like Donnie
Would
Darko.
No.
Donnie
Would you
Darko.
count
How about that?
Scarface? Scarface is a cult classic.
No, well,
Yeah.
it was successful when it came out.
Pulp Fiction.
No, actually, Scarface was not successful and critically panned. Both of them, actually. The old one and the one with Al Pacino.
Oh, okay. All right.
The one with Al Pacino actually did abysmal, and it got its following after it's released, and then they re-released it the 30th anniversary, and it did gangbusters. So, yeah, that would count too. Because when it came out, I think it was like in the 80s, it was horribly panned. They called it gratuitously violent. They said Al Pacino was terrible. I mean, if you go back and even Siskel and Ebert, who I've found, they gave it a terrible rating too. And then years later, it got up to its base.
And you gotta think at that time that crime was at an all-time high too, so that kind of like helped it. People.
Trey Courtney. I love that choice. The Thing, 1982. Yep, that was another good example. John Carpenter.
What about Will Gentry had a good example. The Full Monty.
The Full Monty, yes. Sorry about that, Will. I didn't see that. And Godzilla, right below that. Good.
Well, hold on. Which Godzilla?
The first one.
What do you mean the one from 1950?
I would say we'd have to go there because the one that was in the 90s was.
I don't think we have to go there.
A giant lizard.
With Dude, Matthew the very, very first Godzilla movie is
classic.
Terrible.
Classically terrible.
No, it's bad.
Classically terrible.
Classically terrible, though. Let's be real, though. That's like a guilty pleasure. I mean, everyone's seen.
Wait, what are we talking? I'm talking about the one from the 50s, people.
Yeah. That was classically.
Oh my God, Godzilla's only like freaking 25 feet tall.
But I mean, come on. Who didn't get a good laugh though watching? There was always one random Japanese guy going, Godzilla.
one of the Godzilla's
you know what
movies,
was
Godzilla drop kicked somebody. That shit was hilarious.
you know what my dad always laughed at was he always pointed out to me, when watching these movies, he always thought it was hilarious when the Japanese people were talking, and then once they stopped talking, like the dub stopped, their mouths kept moving.
Kept moving,
Yeah.
yep. Yeah, same thing with like classic kung fu movies and stuff. But I'd say for me, my favorite was Boondock Saints. I absolutely positively just love that movie. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the whole Irish thing, the zaniness, Willem Dafoe. It's just everything in that movie works for me. And the funniest scene, and keep in mind that this scene was before the PC culture rose, right? Was when he went to that house dressed as a female, and he had the guards hitting on him. He goes to pull up his shirt, and there's a gun there, and he sees hairy legs, and he's like, "What the?" And he shoots the guy. That was fucking hilarious. Like that movie was just so weird.
Two movies I think could be considered that comes to mind could be cult classics. Can't Hardly Wait, because like there's still people that haven't seen that movie, but it's still like people that have seen it. It's still like saying like special to them. I still think that's a really dope, funny movie and shit. Mean Girls, cause that
Mean Girls was hilarious. That was my shit.
When that first came out, that shit was crazy. Because I don't think anybody was expecting that.
Yeah, when she got hit by the bus, I thought that was just like a dream sequence. I didn't know she actually fucking got hit by the bus.
She did get hit by the bus. She had a neck brace and everything.
Yeah, I figured it out when I saw the neck brace. But at first, I was like, "Wow, she's fucked up having a dream like that." Yeah. I mean,
they have the audacity to make it number
he's too gay to function. I can't believe they put that in the movie. He's like, too gay to function. I thought it was only okay if I say that. My God. Or like, it's like my boobs are saying that there's a 30% chance that it's already raining. Is that what she says? Amanda Seyfried?
Yeah.
Amanda Seyfried?
Yeah. Is that not what she says?
Yes, that is what she said.
Okay, because it was okay. Maybe I'm the only one just reminiscing in those fond memories I have of watching Mean Girls.
Like even Don't Be a Menace. Don't Be a Menace in South Central Washington. Juice in the Hood.
Juice in the Hood? Oh, God. That shit was so... I'll suck your dick.
I wouldn't clip that.
Somebody clip that.
Somebody clip that. Oh man. What time is that? All right, 1:12 something. All right, yeah.
Hour 12 in, you'll find it.
Oh God.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Anyways. It had to be said. I'm sorry. Every time I think of that movie, I just think about that crackhead running around saying that. That was fucking hilarious. Or the one, have you seen my baby? Where's my baby? That was hilarious. But yeah, so there is a difference between like films that kind of establish their base over time, the misunderstood films. And I think critics have a way now of looking at things like how they used to be. And the truth is the cinema landscape has changed. How the audience looks at things has changed as versus how the critics still want to look at things, right? So, PB, let me ask you something. Do you feel when the critics come out, like let's use Scotty Boy Mendelson because he's always a fun one to use.
He's a critic? I thought he was just a dipshit.
He's a top critic. He's got the blue check mark and everything. Yeah.
Blue check mark doesn't mean you're a top critic.
He works for Forbes. Fucking
That doesn't
Forbes.
mean you're a top critic.
Jeremy
it just
Johns
means you've got soft lips.
Oh wait, no, he's just a regular critic. Never mind.
So
yeah.
So let me go down the
Who is
line.
the top
Do you
critic?
feel, PB,
Hmm.
that the critics are using criteria when they say these asinine things that is out of date? They're not up with the times? Or do you think they're just using it when they want
I
to?
think the critics, if we're talking about people like Mr. Mendelssohn, are too up on the times for themselves and are only looking through the movie with their woke kaleidoscope.
Ryan.
I like that. Woke kaleidoscope. Uh, Perp, what do you think about how the critics are choosing to rate things and like, do you think they're
They
looking
they're,
at
they're,
stuff?
they're they're just doing it. They're just doing their job. That's what they get paid for.
Yeah, but do you think they really are doing their job though? I mean, because when you even
I
see their
mean,
reviews, they're not critiquing on the basis of the film anymore.
Exactly. That's what their job is.
right. It depends on where they work and what the critique is for. Like if you're critiquing, let's use Star Wars as the example. If you're critiquing The Rise of Skywalker for the Mary Sue, they probably care about the representation and the lesbian kiss at the end of the movie. If you're doing a review for The Rise of Skywalker for, I don't know, E Entertainment Magazine, they probably don't care about that so much.
They're good. What about you, Justin? Great
What do
take.
you mean?
What do I think about what?
Do you think that the critics are looking at things from an old school perspective? Do they have a skewed
Probably.
view?
Probably. I mean, they're just in their own little bubble.
That's fair.
Whether it be politically woke or whatever, I don't know what it is, but there's some sort of warped mindset that's here, and I just can't put my finger around it. I guess just can't like I don't know.
Well,
I know,
it
I love
does
when I see
seem to me that in movie reviewing, the amount of integrity has evaporated almost entirely because you would want to give the movie a good review if it's going to get you into the next movie.
I think I read an interview with Siskel and Ebert that they're just like, well, they don't pay you like that per se, but they pay you with granting you an interview with this actor that's going to be in the movie that they happen to be promoting. If you like it, then we'll grant you an interview with them so you could ask them any question you want.
Exactly.
That's what
That's very interesting you bring that up. So here's my follow-up question, because we'll just flip the script on this and we'll try to give the benefit of the doubt here. How many reviews do you think they put out where they're actually telling us a true honest to God review, but now we're not listening to it because of all the other bullshit that they may have subsequently followed before this? So like, say there is a movie, right, that comes out. It very rarely happens, but I might read a top critic's review and he might say the same exact thing. Now, do you think that this creates a problem? Because now when they actually come out and make a valid point, everyone jumps on top of it because of the fact it's just this person saying it. So where's that line, right?
Depends how young and stupid they were. Because
So let me start with
forgive some of the noobs.
So let me start with PB with this. PB, when do you think that there is some times where maybe the critics are honestly saying something and we might be a fan of it, right? So we're not looking at it objectively. So now we're attacking their critique and it is actually a legitimate critique. Like maybe there was poor plotting or something like that. Just
Well,
throw that out
when
there.
is it legitimate? It's legitimate when they're not expecting another movie from that particular studio anytime soon. That's when it's legitimate. When they are, that's when it's probably not legitimate. Just looking at the numbers.
What about you, Perp? When do you feel like sometimes people might like the other people who, let's use YouTubers versus critics because that's a good comparison. Where do you feel like we might attack something, but they're actually making legitimate points about the film itself? Like they do have a valid point within the
I
movie.
mean, that just goes back to what I was saying earlier, where like you can't please the fans, you can't please either side. So like they're going to, the media is going to do what they do, get a reaction out of the fans, and the fans going to react, and it just becomes this ongoing civil war. And I don't know. I just don't think you're going to be able to please anybody at the end of the day. It's what it is.
What about you, Justin? Where do you think that the critics might say something that's actually true, and now the fans, the YouTubers, whoever might come back and just be attacking just because it's that one particular person, and their 9 other reviews were biased, but this one is actually on nose.
I think a lot of people would have the sense to call bullshit when they see bullshit, and if they think that a broken clock is right twice a day. That's
a very good point.
That's the analogy that we're going with.
That's a very good point.
I mean, but people who are people who are lunatics, who are psychotic, like Charles Manson may have had a good point when he was talking about how great the Beach Boys were.
Wait a second. You said, hold on. I like the analogy of.
I mean, he even like talked to one of the Wilson brothers. He talked to one of the Beach Boys all the time. So, I mean, he knows their shit. I don't know. But that doesn't mean that you agree with them. As a philosophically, that doesn't mean that you agree with them, in a narrative sense or anything like that. That you agree with their woke points.
So, PB, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, if a broken clock is right twice a day, the problem with that is if the clock is supposed to be whatever critic it is out there, you're not going to look at all at that clock, period, because it's broken. It doesn't matter if it has the time right twice a day because it's broken.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. And here's the
as far as I can, or the way I look at it, people do not go to those people for their movie reviews. They're much more likely to go on YouTube, pick 5 people, random people, watch their reviews, and be like, okay, I got a relatively decent sense of what the movie is because I listened to 5 relatively normal or regular people instead of somebody who's quote unquote connected to Hollywood. Yeah, fuck that.
What's up, Lethal? How are you doing tonight?
Fuck them Wookiees.
Hey,
So,
my old friend, how you doing?
How are we, lads? What?
We're good.
We are talking about fans tonight, fan bases and things like that. And we're talking about the disconnection between the way the media presents things. And I was more quoting Scott Mendelson about his comments on fans and things like that. And,
Look, Scott Mendelson is a footstool for Zack Snyder. That burn Zack Snyder gave him, he will never recover from.
So let me ask you, Lethal. There's been times, and PB used the analogy correctly, that that a broken clock is right twice a day, right? There's been times when the top critics, and I'm using air quotes, have been correct about things. So when is the fine line of where the critics are making an actually good point, but they're still being berated from it just because of the fact that they're critics versus, they're just being stupid and we're calling them out. So, like, where's that distinguishing line? When do you listen to these guys?
I'll just think of an example off the top of my head. Like, do you remember? Okay, I think Grace Randolph, she's very hit and miss. I still watch her. She does some good and interesting takes, but one of her worst reviews was when she said that the most recent Rambo movie was hardcore racist and stuff like that. Like that's pretty over the line for me. I mean, when someone
I remember that we did a shilling for that, as a matter of fact.
Love that woman. I think she's hot. But stuff like that is kind of where I draw the line. It's like if someone can tell me why they think a movie is trash without, resorting to dumb shit like that, then I can respect it, even if I disagree. But if you can point out X, Y, and Z of why you think it's bad without falling into that type of crap, then I have all the time of the day for you.
That is an excellent point, Mr. Lethal, right? It's not so much about what they're saying, it's how they're approaching it, right? The reason why these critics are not being taken seriously is because when you look at critiquing, let's go to like the 90s, because that's sort of my era, right? Mid 80s, early 90s, you had them approaching the film and they were giving you technical reasons, story beats, dialogue, things like that, right? Where you could go, oh, okay, I see what they're talking about, right? Some things aren't sounding right. The story's a little weird and off. They were giving you factual stuff, right? Now let's look at reviews from today. This character is so strong and brave. Okay, what the fuck does that have to do with the movie? It's a strong and brave female. Good. What about the plot? What about the tone? What about, is the camera work good?
How is she strong? Why is she brave? Why does she have to be brave? Does she have to overcome obstacles? Is she just kind of born courageous? I don't know.
Yes.
Does she have any real feelings? Is she more than just like a plank of wood?
Yes to all.
Go on, sorry.
So, you get critiques like that, and that, I think, is what is killing the media as a source of entertainment. And I think that is this whole battle between fans and the critics, right? It feels like a personal attack on, let's say, like an IP or something like that, which it is. But there's also the thing of, if you don't like it, okay, say I'm a fan of something, and you don't like it, tell me the specifics within what is being made that you don't like. Don't tell me it's because they're not representing something or someone or an it or a Z or a dinosaur. Tell me exactly within the film what the fuck is wrong with the film, right? They're not giving you film aspects. They're saying social and political and ideology and all the other bullshit.
Yeah, and that's all trash. It just turns people away from it. I mean, like, as well as the people, you got to think of all those crap websites out there. Like, I personally think that a lot of them just exist to cause division for the sake of causing division. So that way people get grumpy and click on their websites and shit like that. Like, we had that one. It came out within hours of when the Robert Pattinson Batsuit got revealed. Within hours, they put out this trash hit piece saying that fucking Zack Snyder fans hate the Batsuit. So that's retarded. Like 99% of people are liking it within that community. But nope, you gotta search far and wide, screen cap tweets so you can put it on your shit website so you can have an aggressive headline that people are gonna click on. That's the type of crap, that does my head in. I can understand.
I agree.
Has there been some prick who was just like, who was like hidden in the Batman suit and then said #release the Snyder cut or some stupid shit?
Yeah, decide to screen cap him. Like, oh, here we go. This represents everybody.
Yay.
Oh, and
No,
by the way,
no, it doesn't.
welcome, Jamie Vick. Welcome. It is good to have you here in the fandom zone.
Good, you took a pause. Now I can read this joke. That's good timing. Generation
ahead.
Production says, Lethal Lightning. Wouldn't that be like humping a carpet to fuck a Wookiee?
Look, where do you think the coronavirus came from?
Oh God.
I thought it came
just
from everybody using the same lime.
Wookiees are trash.
Just a detour, right? I was on Twitter and I saw this video. Did you see what their solution was? The fucking Chinese are going around beating dogs with sticks. What the fuck
Yeah,
is
except they
going
were
on
doing that
over there?
before coronavirus too.
Wait. What? I come back and then Zod is saying like they're beating up Chinese are beating up dogs with sticks. What?
Yep.
Yeah. The fucking coronavirus. So they said this bright person thinks that dogs are the problem. And it's like first you're cooking dogs, putting your food, and now you're beating them over the head for a virus. I'm fairly convinced they didn't start.
And no one gets to
They
eat
just
them.
went and started beating the shit out of all these dogs that were around over the head with a
If
stick.
they were cooking dogs to put them someplace not in their food, that would be even weirder.
Yeah. They would
Soul
just eat it.
Assassin knows what I'm talking about. Soul
You know what-
Assassin
know what
just
would've been
said, I
weird?
saw that video, that bit really messed up. Yes, Soul Assassin, it's fucked up. I don't know what is going on over there.
Oh, PB. I had an idea. So what if they were not just gonna cook dogs and eat them? What if they fed those dogs to their pet dogs?
Oh God!
Oh, they turn their dogs into cannibals
Yeah, dude,
before they eat
Okay,
their dogs.
that would be so
That's
weird.
two ways it's twisted.
Yeah. that
Okay,
would be
so
so
let's get off of
twisted.
this really fucked up and twisted thing. Jesus
brought up the
Christ!
dog
I just
thing.
brought up.
Okay, yeah, we can get off of that. Just you want me to read this comment on the screen?
Yes, from Grin Monolith, because I think this is very important to the talk.
Creativity, imagination. They don't need those. Just their forced narratives in your face. They don't care about the hero's journey anymore. Then, when you complain, they start virtue signaling.
Very true, right? The problem with the critics today is they used to talk about creativity, imagination, the story, right? I mean, for me, okay, and some people agree with me, some people will disagree, but I think Blade Runner is a fucking masterpiece. It is one of the most mind-boggling things I saw. Rutger Hauer's performance in that has so many layers. Every time I watch that movie, there's always something different that I can take from it. And to me, it's one of the most creative movies I've seen, right? And now, when that movie came out, right, some people panned it hard because they didn't understand it and stuff like that. And now, years later, it's got its cult following. A lot of people like the movie. But see, when they were talking about it, they highlighted things like they didn't understand the story. They didn't understand certain aspects. They highlighted acting, things like that. So when I'm looking at a critique, I'm like, yeah, I can kind of see what you guys are saying, right? You don't understand the story beats. Some of the things are kind of weird. It's a little hard for you to follow. You really got to pay attention, things like that. But now look at a critique, and you don't see that same kind of wording. You don't see that same kind of phrasing. You don't see no detail. It's like very fucking lazy writing. Very lazy writing is what it feels like to me.
You're not wrong.
It's like the way they make movies. Everything feels like contrived, simplistic writing. Even the fucking media. Look at the one article that we read, PB, remember last week, where they sourced Reddit. They fucking sourced Reddit. Fucking
Hey, that's a
Forbes
reliable source.
sourced
Some of them.
Reddit.
No, well, when you
fucking
got
lazy.
Esquire, Source, and Reddit, like you're
No,
stretching.
Esquire, that was right. Esquire, Source,
Oh,
Esquire magazine, okay? And let's be real, they write some stuff, right? They're in there with the stars. They got the top 50 men of the year that they wrote and all that other bullshit, right? They talk to all these famous people, and they can't go to the people of Star Wars and ask for interviews because I'm sure they gave that movie a fucking glowing review. No, they sourced Reddit. Reddit leak. Like, how fucking lazy is that?
A lot of it's like, they got to get it out quick. Like, kind of like what I was saying with the whole Batsuit stuff. They got that up within hours, so that way, like, it was still fresh, still very fresh. And then if Reddit's the closest thing within reach, they'll grab that. There's no fucking journalistic integrity. Like, quite honestly, I think myself sitting in front of a camera with my Hawaiian shirt that's not buttoned up talking about a movie has more integrity than fucking half these websites.
Oh yeah.
I don't
That
think it
Hawaiian
needed to be
shirt
buttoned up.
sells me.
That's just what they do,
And,
man. That's their game. They're trash.
And welcome, Terrence. Welcome. Who else jumped in here? Hold on, it jumped on me. K-Log.
Kermit.
Welcome. Yes, K-Log. Kermit the Log. The homie Kermit. Whatever you want to call him. Welcome
Caleb.
to the. But yeah,
He's my favorite cocaine addict.
That's true.
Lethal. You know what? That's a good question for the panel, actually. And I'll start with PB.
Who's your favorite cocaine
who's
addict?
your favorite crack addict?
Right?
Well, no, I feel like that would be too easy.
Yeah, Heath Ledger.
Right?
No, let me go to PB. Do you think, and we're not making an excuse, but
No,
do
you don't think.
time constraints on articles and publications affect how well they're doing their job? Do you think that the internet and the fast pace that people can get their information is fucking over journalism?
Yeah, it's a serious problem with journalism, especially 2-bit journalism on the internet. Not everybody has the writing chops that B. Alan Orange does.
That was great.
I love B. Allen Orange.
I
miss
know.
him.
So
my
so
favorite one.
wonderful and eloquent.
So, Justin, same question. Do you think the way that information is out there so quickly is now affecting the way journalists perform, or the way that they
Of
can
course it
perform their
has.
job?
Yeah. It's created this I'd rather be first than be right mentality. Instantly, but it's instantaneous. I mean, that's really the only catch.
I mean, they don't care about errors.
No, they don't care about spelling
we've
errors.
gone through those articles. I don't even think they spell check anymore.
No, there are no more spell check robots. They've all been fired because they were never there in the first place, I guess.
Justin, didn't you just do a video about Ewan McGregor?
No.
Oh, who the fuck was that? Somebody was talking about Ewan McGregor, and they forgot to put the A in his name when they typed the article.
I don't know, but that sounds terrible.
It was, and I was like, how do you forget? Like, it's a 4-letter name. How do you miss that? And it doesn't make a word. This isn't like a General Zod error, like when he mistypes a word and it makes a different word, so it didn't actually correct it. They're like, oh, well, it's just another word. EWN is not a word.
Yes, it's not as endearing as the General Zod era.
You really said EWN?
Yep. Gosh, I wish I could remember who did that one, because it was funny. They're like, I wasn't going to cover this article, but then I saw this error, and I had to. And I was like, I swear to God it was Justin, but obviously it wasn't.
No. I wish it was.
There he is.
Oh, he's
I
back.
was laughing so hard I hit the back button.
Ah,
I was like, oh God, I just kicked myself
it was going to
out.
be
That
the
was so
perp
funny.
show for a second there.
Perp. You have to wait. You have to take the general out to make it the perp show. All right. Let's go to Lethal. Same question, but you answered it pretty well. Do you feel that time constraints is forcing journalists to just put shit out, just to be the first one?
100%. I don't even think there's an argument around this. 100%. It's been seen time and time and time and time and time again. Like, even on YouTube, you know, sometimes it's all about getting it out first. Like, how many times, and you know, it's happened to me before where I've gone, fuck, I'm going to jump on this really quick. Coincidentally, something's popped up. I'm at home. Okay, I'm going to jump on this really quick. You get the video out, and then 5 minutes later, they're going, oh, actually, it was a misrepresentation or they misinterpreted the translation. And it's all bullshit. Or by the way,
You're like, fuck, I didn't know the interview was in Cantonese.
Yeah, that's right. You're sitting there like, well, I'm a fucking retard. It happened to me leading up to Kingdom Hearts 3. Like, Perf knows I'm a fucking die-hard Kingdom Hearts dude. And I put out this video about a month before the game came
Kingdom
out.
Hearts 3 is fire.
And they're talking about information in the game. And
Knew you'd
then
rouse him.
24 hours of the game coming out, I got hit with all these comments going like, wrong, 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 because I jumped on it so quickly. And I was like, oh, all right, I'm going to delete it. I'm going to unlist this video, private it, because I fucked up. I got this one wrong. It's exactly the same for writing an article. It's exactly the same shit. You know, sometimes you just jump on it and you don't get all the information, or you make dumbass errors, and or because, you know, you went too fast. You know, and then you have like someone else, for example, who will wait like 24 hours and then tell the whole story from start to end, and theirs will be the most coherent and well written or well recorded, whatever, dissecting and presenting the information. So yes, sometimes, in fact, a lot of the time, being first can also lead to mistakes, but not all the time. Sometimes it's pretty cut and dry what you need to put forward in your information. Like, movie was announced to come out at this date. Okay, cool. You can't really get that wrong, so you jump on that quickly. So not always wrong, but a lot of the time, yes.
And Will Gentry put a good comment out that says, that's why they're hiring people with pre-existing large followers rather than real journalists who have journalistic integrity. They just want to get clicks, likes, and retweets. And we have Mr. LB. Welcome.
What up?
What up?
Hello, cousin.
Hello, my cousin. How are you doing? What nonsense
Pretty
y'all
good.
talking about?
We are
Journalistic integrity.
Or lack thereof.
There is none.
So, and LB, I'm going to pose to you this question. Do you think that with the way social media is, that also plays a part in the declining journalistic integrity? Because now they're just about putting out the story first, which has always been a thing. But with the internet, it's instantaneous. So do you feel like they're fucking up because they're trying to be the first ones out?
I don't blame social media. I fully blame the journalists and these people that make these garbage websites and that spread around the fake information that makes these journalists feel the need to put out everything first. And YouTube also plays a big part into it too. Like, I don't know how. I say these government people need to, you know, focus less on the foolishness they focus on and focus more on getting rid of these fake news websites, which is basically destroying everything.
Very, very great take, Mr. LB.
You
Love
want
it.
them to rein in comicbook.com and cosmic book news?
Yeah, and we got this covered. Like, never got one story right in their entire life, but for some reason, people keep making news articles and YouTube videos based off stuff that they make. And this is.
But what if they just change the website name to "We Don't Got This Covered"?
We're making it up as we go.
I don't know, man. Like it just gets worse and worse by the day, and nobody ever holds these people responsible, man, because it's easy way to get content out for themselves, to make content about fake stuff.
What do you propose they do? What do you propose someone does?
Seriously, I don't know what could they do, because like I know Facebook, for example, I don't know if they're still doing it because I don't really use Facebook, but I know they was like doing a verification thing with news articles that gets posted onto feeds. So it's like, okay,
They used to.
Okay, if they well, I don't know, but I know that like you had to verify, like if it was on the feed, it would say, okay, this is a verified news story, because there was so much fake stuff on Facebook. But like, if that could be done, that would be cool. But like, I think overall, like, people just need to be a little bit more smarter, man. It's just like, you all know how much fake stuff is out there, but everybody just runs with everything they see because it gets posted onto their timelines.
What do you think is the most trash tier website?
The most trash website?
Yeah.
WeGotThisCovered.com.
I will say one thing about WeGotThisCovered.com is they come up with the craziest shit that it's funny. You read it, you go, that's fucking good.
Yes.
Like, it's just crazy, like how many people are making news articles and videos based off of this website. And it's like, man, when y'all gonna learn your lesson?
And
Okay,
I would be okay with people
pretty much
making
trash.
videos off of that stuff if they were mocking the news, but they're just saying, hey, look at this brand new news that I've just uncovered off of the internet. And then I watched the video and I was like, yeah, but where'd you get it from? And then you learn that in the first 60 seconds, and then you go, all right, I can move on to another video. I've wasted my time.
Like, I saw some mess earlier. They're talking about making Peter Parker bisexual in the next Spider-Man movie.
Oh,
What?
fuck.
Like,
where did
in
you
the
hear
world?
that?
Exactly, straight from We Got This Covered. I'm like, bro, what? I'm like, y'all are really making articles off of this? Like, where did
Who's
it?
his
Like,
boyfriend
seriously,
gonna be?
they're gonna make him bisexual with Ned? Like, where has this come from? Like, come on, bro.
What? Where did you hear this from?
I saw it on
Jesus.
Twitter. I did not click it, and then I saw a response say, "Oh, the source is We Got This Covered."
Oh my god!
Nice.
But a big
What do you
problem
consider-
is like people, these alleged writers and bloggers, they're not journalists. Like they don't know the simple guidelines of journalism.
Journalists don't know the simple guidelines of journalism.
I mean,
What are the top three most trash websites? Can you do a top three? So we got this covered at number 1. Then what would you go like?
comicbook.com, Screen Rant.
Screen Rant. Yeah.
It's got to be Screen Rant. They got to be in the top 3.
Screen Rant pop up today, and I clicked on it out of sheer curiosity, and it was top 10 Star Wars villains they should have used in the last movie instead of Palpatine. And I haven't seen that movie. So I figured, fuck it, we'll see what's on this list. And about 7 of those characters, or about 6 of them were like EU characters. And I was like, ha, this is fucking garbage. Garbage tier article. They are pretty bad, Screen Rant.
Yep.
But I do like that
Yeah.
pitch meeting video. They're funny.
Well, the pitch
And I
meetings
agree
are the
with
pitch
Jamie
meetings
Vick.
are
Yes,
tight.
this is as bad as J.K. Rowling saying Dumbledore was gay. I agree. I was so fucking pissed. That actually the crimes of Grindelwald or whatever the fuck was what made me start doing this, because I immediately did a video on how fucking terrible that movie was and all the implications within that and breaking
Didn't she say
continuity.
that like years ago? Like, I reckon I was like in school, in primary school, when she came out and said that shit.
No, she had just started it recently. With the
No, it was
right
like
when
it was after the
crimes-
books came out, a little after that, I think.
Are you sure? I remember hearing that Dumbledore was gay years ago.
No, it was like
No.
yeah, it was like over 10 years ago. Yeah.
Man, J.K.
That's what I
man,
thought.
He's
look,
been
man.
gay for a decade. Yeah.
Yeah, J.K. Rowling, she like succumbed to the buffoonery of we want Dumbledore gay, we want gay characters, so she decided, hey, he's gay now.
Yep.
I
You gotta
love
pick
it.
one.
There's no evidence.
None. Oh,
I don't think,
Dumbledore
I
didn't
don't
have
think anybody was
Dumbledore.
asking for that.
Right, Dumbledore didn't have a girlfriend. Oh, he's gay
Right.
then. Okay.
The lack of evidence is the evidence.
Yeah, it's just like one of these prime examples. But let me pose the question to you, LB. I've been posing to everyone. I know you've been hanging around in the chat, listening to the conversation. So, what for you?
I really wasn't.
No, you haven't.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I told you earlier I was doing a podcast.
So, what for you is staying true to something, like staying true to, say, an IP versus just fan service and doing stuff for the fans. Like the critics are on this new kick where they're saying, oh, because a movie's so highly praised, they're just appeasing fans. They don't look at it as respecting a fan base. So in your mind, what is the difference between just appeasing people and actually giving people something that is within the story, within the universe, that's part of the overall world?
I'm sorry, but before you jump in, I got to jump off. I'm just about to pull up home, so I got to do all my stuff. So thank you for having me on, General Zod. Always good to see all you lads, and stay safe, and I'll see you all later.
See you
Bye-bye.
guys.
All
Remember,
right.
Adios.
Stay out of the smoke.
Wookiees
What's
are
up,
trash.
LB?
What's up, Perp? I mean, for me, like, appeasing and respecting the source material. Like, for example, give me an example of a movie that respected the source. Like, okay, the Harry Potter movies. For the most part, I haven't read the books, but from like when I've watched the movies, I always go back and look at like what the changes are from the books and stuff. For the most part, it follows the books, right?
Yep.
Well,
Except for, I'd say the only one
the
that really
first-
deviated was
the
the
first one really did.
Order of
And-
the Phoenix was changed a little bit. Goblet of Fire was pretty close. Yeah, it's a hit or miss
there's
on the
so
book.
much
Yeah.
that was changed, so
The
much that was
first
cut
two
out.
are
You have
pretty
no
close.
idea.
The last two are pretty close. The ones in the middle, not as close.
Not
Alright.
even sometimes.
So those are like, okay, respecting the source material, right? But for the most part,
they're faithful.
Okay. Yeah, faithful to the characters and stuff like that, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I grant you that.
All right. So appeasing would be, okay, we're going to make Harry black. We're going to make Hermione a lesbian. We're going to make
well,
what's
they
his
made
name?
Hermione black.
Yeah, in the play. You're right. I'm saying in
Yeah.
the movies. What's his name again? I forgot. Ronald. Ronald. Yeah, they say we're gonna make Ron trans or whatever.
A woman, right?
Yeah. Right. That would be that would be appeasing.
Or what's even better? What would be even better is that Jenny is actually trans.
Yeah.
It's
there
a
we go.
male to female.
Yeah. That would be appeasing.
God.
They did it from it's a young girl. Oh God!
Like
I
this
just
whole
realized.
diversity thing, that's appeasing.
Yeah,
you know,
seriously.
Like as far as the Marvel movies and all that stuff, like it's like the diversity thing is appeasing. It's not catering to fans. Like so what was the other part of the question?
So the other part of the question is, when is it respecting fandom versus appeasing? They're flipping it and saying, like I've been using Scott Mendelssohn's words because those are just the best words to use. He's saying like what they did with Sonic, for instance. Oh, they were just appeasing the fans and listening that
Gotcha.
whole shit.
Man, well, Scott Mendelsohn is a shill. Like I would say, let's keep it all the way real. Despite his being an extra shill and saying some real stupid stuff, he said stuff in his articles on purpose because he knows he gets a reaction from people. But he's probably the top guy out of all those trades for box office stuff. But yeah, I mean, like to say that about Sonic is ridiculous because fans were upset about the way they did Sonic originally, right? And,
Yep.
and the studio decided, like, okay, this movie is going to bomb unless we fix this. They fixed it, and people went to go see the movie. I don't see how that's a problem. But since, Birds of Prey flopped a week ago, that's why it's a problem to these people.
Yeah, and here's the thing that astonishes me about the statement and why I feel like, okay, and I've said Sonic as a movie, and I think even Perp put it best too, it's mediocre as a film, okay, from a technical aspect. But what it represents is pretty important because it represents someone actually listening to feedback, okay? There's a difference between listening to feedback on a legitimate point in the film, right? Your sticking point is Sonic and he looks like shit. That's a pretty big, important critique, right? And instead of going, you're a man, baby, you guys don't understand my creative genius, Ryan Johnson, that he decides he's going to go back and go, okay, I hear you. Let's get this right. Let's delay it. Let's do the due diligence, right? It doesn't feel like he changed much of the story. He just changed the design. It was a quick, simple fix.
There's nothing wrong with that because, like, seriously, more studios should do that. And I'm not one to sit there and say you need to make your movie and cater to all the fans because, like, every fan ain't the same. But, like, I think every fan, for the most part, will agree. Don't disrespect the source material.
Yeah.
Or at least don't completely betray it.
Right.
Jeez, yeah.
And now, LB, just to catch you all the way up, what do you feel is different? Okay, so they're in this old mindset of how movies used to be, right? Where they're saying, well, it's hindering the director's creative expression, blah, 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 right? But, like, let's take an original movie, for instance, and I like using, like, Blade Runner or one of those, right? Those are an original thought. So in that sense, you can say they had a creative idea, right? That's their artistic expression because that they were making that from scratch. And then you take something that has an established story, and those are two vastly different things. But it's like the media is trying to lump them in to one group. And they're not. They're two very separate groups. It's two very separate things. Building a fan base as opposed to an established fan base.
The media gonna do what they do, man.
It's all for the money.
Yeah. This is all it is, man.
You give somebody X amount of money, they'll say whatever. They don't care.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, what do you feel
what is my
different?
integrity worth? Tell me how many commas you got.
So my question to you would be, what do you feel is creative and artistic as opposed to something already established? Like when you think of a movie, what is something that's not attached to an IP that was someone's just original thought that you felt like that's where the creativity comes in, that's where they can play around with things because it's something new and it's fresh? Well, like what pops into your mind when you think of movies?
Golly, man. Do we
Inception.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think Christopher Nolan movies as far as recent. Because, I mean, outside of Batman, all of his movies are what? Original properties, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think that movie that they did, The Space, was that based on a book? Or was it an original?
Which one?
Interstellar?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Interstellar.
The space movie.
I think I don't think that was based on a book. I want to say that was original, but I have to look it up.
I know Dunkirk was based on a story, but I mean, things like that. I mean, Quentin Tarantino, I know a lot of his stories are, not so much original, but like they're kind of homages to other stuff. But like, man, you be putting me on the spot, man. It's hard to think of original movies, but there's barely any original movies.
Oh, he did that to all of us earlier. He made us think of an original fucking movie. I was like, oh my God. Okay, let me go back a little while. I don't know.
That's
Jesus.
a parasite.
I know. I'm. You guys didn't know I'm doing the hard hitting tonight because I saw this interview and I saw the videos and look, I hate the thing that I hate that I feel like Sonic is going to be used for is this platform war between Birds of Prey and Sonic. Like, and they did the same thing with Alita Battle Angel, which, by the way, that's the wrong title. It's really Battle Angel Alita. That's why I say it that way. Proper. Fuck you. That's the original title. Anyways,
Fuck you. That's
With
not
the-
the title.
actually, it is. Read a manga.
No, it's not.
Uh,
You're saying it wrong.
But my whole point is they use that against Captain Marvel, right?
Very
So
much so.
They tried.
Yeah, and I feel like
They
that
pushed it too
these
much.
films should be highlighted for a different reason, and is that Sonic is more of a representation of listening to the fans. That's what the whole big deal of the movie is, right? We voiced our
Right.
opinions. Someone listened.
That's
I think
all it should
that
have to
is
do
the
with it.
importance
You
of it.
shouldn't be highlighting a movie only because it's the opposite of another movie, therefore support it.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not gonna lie to you. I haven't seen Sonic, so I can't really speak on the movie. But based on reviews and people's comments, the movie looked like it's trash. But I feel like people are praising the movie because they did what the fans wanted and fixed the Sonic.
Exactly. It's very like the story. Like it sets up a pretty good universe, but it doesn't hit for me. Like it's definitely overhyped.
It's a
definitely
movie. It's a movie. I can't even take credit for this. Amazing Lucas said this. He's like, it's a movie like if you got kids, right, and you just don't want to hear from them for 2 hours, you put that movie on and you go do something else.
Right. That's yeah.
Because that movie.
And Jim Carrey's just playing Jim Carrey in it. Like it's nothing.
I said, you know what, Perp? I agreed with your review because I said the same exact thing. Like Jim
he
Carrey
reminds me-
doesn't.
He reminds me of the dude from Lazy Town, like that villain from Lazy Town. That just the way he acts. That just
Oh my God, Lazy
mix-
Town.
yeah, mixed with like a little Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. He's like a mixture of things. He's like an evil Steve Jobs, like
Evil Steve
well,
Jobs.
well, Steve Jobs is already
You mean
evil,
Steve Jobs?
All right, so y'all seen it, right? So let me ask you this, because I mean,
No.
the movie it looks like that Alvin and the Chipmunks Smurf type movie. Is it those kind of movies?
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
the kids movies.
that's what kind of like brought it down for me. I was like, I don't really like Sonic being in our world. Like,
Right.
It would have been better if he was just in his world, because like we would have got to see like more of like just the life over there and shit. It shouldn't. It's like the Transformers. Like we don't need humans in these shits. Like we don't come here for the humans.
No,
We come here
I mean, like the tone and the way the movie is. Is it just like the typical? Okay, we're gonna make this cartoon character and just put him in real life type movie.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I say. Like,
I mean,
hopefully, in like future movies, they go back to his world or other worlds.
I will give them credit for one thing, though. I felt like between Sonic and what the fuck is his name, the guy who plays the cop there, I
James
felt like,
Marsden or something.
yeah,
Yes.
James Marsden. I feel like they did
Jesus.
do a good idea with the way that they have kind of a bond, and there
Wait,
were
did you
certain
just say
moments.
James Marsden?
Marsden, whatever.
No, you
close
took
enough.
the
I
R
called
out.
him. Oh, I called him when I reviewed
did.
Jason Marston. I called him Marston.
I can live with that.
Anyways,
Oh,
I feel
God.
like that they did have a pretty good emotional kind of core there. I did enjoy those scenes. It was kind of heartbreaking, with Sonic being alone. That kind of stuff was good, but I felt like I agree with Perp. The writing's not that deep. It's standard, kind of fair. And I wasn't really going in expecting anything deep. I didn't want like a really this groundbreaking thing. I just wanted to see Sonic run really fast.
when I'm watching this, I'm like, you know, Sonic ain't that dumb, you know. He's really not like it just kind of seemed like they dumbed down his character a little bit just for obviously for the children and stuff. Like,
Right.
For the jokes, yeah.
It's a kiddie movie. It ain't like watching, say, Incredibles, which is a kids movie that adults can relate to. It's just a straight kids movie. Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty kiddie. Even the humor is geared more towards kids than adults.
Yeah, he's living his best life.
I mean, there was a couple of funny moments. Like I like when he like tries to run.
No
And he's got a
spoilers,
fish
you
on it.
son of a bitch.
Yeah, there was a couple of things that I was like, that's pretty clever. But I mean, you know, it's not. It's one of those movies I talk about where I feel like it's built more for the kids than the adults, and you're just like sitting there with the kids going, well, you know, at least they're happy.
F them kids, bro.
But you know, what about the fact that with these articles coming out, right? They are saying absolutely positively nothing true to what is inside the film. And this goes back again to why fans are getting pissed off and the initial backlash, right? Is because you got a lot of the articles coming out saying Sonic makes gay slurs. Not once in the movie was there even an adult joke that could be considered offensive, right? But they're sitting there putting shit in saying like, oh, Sonic is very homophobic in this. And like, they don't even mention gay people. And as a matter of fact, there's a biracial couple. Like, I find it like hilarious that that's what they focus on.
Man, like I said, bro, it's just the media doing what they do, bro. I mean, they're upset because Birds of Prey flopped, you know, and Sonic made money. So
it was going to make money regardless.
Yeah, how does tearing down Sonic get more people to go to Birds of Prey? That confuses me.
Hey, Hollywood is a confusing place.
I guess.
That's why I call it
That was the one
Hollywood.
that threw me off because I seen multiple videos, multiple articles out there about, oh, there's a lot of people out in the media that are tearing Sonic down to try and prop Birds of Prey up. And I didn't understand how that would work.
Right.
And they're like, oh, well, we're going to tell you how terrible this is so that maybe you'll spend your money on that. I was like, people aren't going to fucking do that. They'll just wait a week.
Like,
No, if you want to see something terrible and boring, go see The Photograph. Me and Bitchy saw that, and I've never seen her struggling through a movie, but we both looked and we're like, this is so fucking boring.
Why? Well, because it had black people in it?
Black Love.
No, because it had it had two of the most bland, hollow black people in it.
Bruh, this Black History Month, bro.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
Bruh,
you know what, LB? Go watch that movie.
Hey,
Go watch that movie.
I might be reaching, but how come this man every February he's dissing a black movie, bruh?
Hey, he's been consistent. He's been consistent so far. First Black Panther in Black History Month. Now The Photograph, Black Love on Black History Month. Man.
Wow.
Man.
Shows
What's
the content of his character.
There's gonna be a Malcolm X movie coming out next year. He's gonna be like, that shit was trash.
No. Well, it might be if they don't have
it
that.
wasn't faithful to the source material.
Hey, it's all good, bro. We see how you do, man. We see how you do. You don't want to celebrate black excellence during Black History Month.
Right. We don't even got no fucking black movies. That's probably the only black movie I think of on top of my head that's coming out this month.
Yep.
You said this year. I'm saying my problem is They're not making any good ones.
Your problem is they're black.
No, I have no problem.
You got a
With-
problem with Black Panther?
Yeah,
You
I have
got
a problem with the
photograph.
character, not the fact that he's black. I liked Killmonger in it. If I remember correctly, he was black.
He's light skinned black.
Yeah, he was
Jesus
dotted black.
Oh, I see what you're doing, LB.
I'm just saying, bro.
It's looking spooky for you, Zod.
Yeah. Like, bro, there's only like 10 days left in Black History Month. You couldn't just fake the funk for 10 more days, bro?
Right.
About the photograph?
Whoa. It's a leap year.
Oh, well, we got 11 then. We got an extra day.
Yep, we gave you an extra day this year, black people. Be thankful.
Exactly.
Ridiculous.
Did you hear what Bitchy said in the comments?
Do we
Yeah.
get a white month?
Yeah.
It's called December.
It's called January, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December.
Veterans Day.
Yeah. Hold on. I think they have Hispanic Awareness a month, but you know, white people are Hispanic.
Right.
too,
We just
so.
have to take. We don't get Cinco de Mayo. We don't get that day in May.
Yeah.
We get the rest of the month.
Yeah.
Y'all got 4th of July.
You got St. Patrick's
We
Day.
definitely get 4th of July.
St. Patrick's Day,
Yep.
Christmas.
sure.
Christmas Eve, Halloween, Thanksgiving.
I think Thanksgiving, yeah. Labor Day.
Memorial Day.
Y'all
You
got,
got plenty of days.
y'all
No,
birthdays.
watching this movie,
Flag
LB,
Day.
something occurred to me. The reason why you guys aren't getting those nods
Most
is
of
because
President's Day.
you need more actually good black films. Like, when's the last really good black film that you
Get
enjoyed?
out.
The photograph.
Get out.
Yeah, you just love that last year's Zod.
I
really
liked
like.
Us.
I really like
Oh, Us, my
Moonlight.
bad. Not Get Out.
Moonlight, guys.
Never seen Moonlight.
No, I'm kidding. I haven't
Moonlight
seen it
was
either.
good.
I'll pass on that.
Okay,
Okay.
Moonlight was good. Moonlight was good, but the photograph was trash. All right.
Yeah, and I like Queen and Slim. That was also really good too.
Oh.
But
Black
photograph
Bonnie
was
cried.
trash. I'm sorry, it was boring. It was so boring. And the worst part was
Bruh,
that
I bet
the,
it was.
you really got two black men on the panel. You just basically told us that black people are boring. Wow.
oh my God. No, you are twisting my
Wow.
words. I said the movie was boring. The supporting cast was great,
Wow.
but the main
So-
actors were boring.
Mm-hmm.
That
And they're black, aren't they?
Yeah. So
Yep.
why were they boring? Because they're black?
no, because they had no depth. They were terribly written.
So you
And
saying
it was
black
even
people
more
don't have any
tactic.
depth?
Oh my God. Okay.
They were boring because they
I
couldn't
felt-
use any low light studios.
I feel like I'm just gonna dig myself deeper going on with this.
That's the plan.
Yep.
I'm just gonna go to the center of the earth and let everyone just bury the
Hey man,
bury
it's
the
all,
dirt.
And say hello to Doomcock.
it's all good, bro. Like honestly, like me personally as a black man, I don't have a problem if you don't like black people. Okay. You don't have to like everybody, you know. I'm not one of those people. If you don't like black people, I'm not calling you racist, okay?
Don't feel
Oh,
bad because
dear.
there's a lot of black folks that don't like me. So
Yeah.
it's what it is.
I see it every day on my YouTube channel.
Man, they be calling you some outlandish things, though. I was like, wow.
Don't act like you watch the black man's YouTube channel. Come on, don't lie to us.
I do.
It's like,
don't support
Right,
black
right. Will Gentry's got it right. I'm not calling you racist, but you are.
no. I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say you're racist if you said you don't like black people, because like
misguided.
yeah, I mean I don't like key lime pie. You're not gonna call me racist against key lime pie, are you?
No,
Right,
absolutely
you're
not.
anti-green.
Yeah. You don't have to like everybody. Now, if you said you hate black people, then that's a whole other discussion there.
That's a whole nother issue you got with the whole group of people.
Yeah.
You want those problems.
I got to
No.
read a message that Mad Squirrel has in the chat. She says, Woman's Day? I don't need a day. I'm reminded every day.
That is facts. Oh my goodness. But anyways,
I mean, I would
So-
be on board for that. I don't think that you necessarily need a Black History Month if they would be better at, I don't know, teaching Black History Month all of the year long.
Yeah. And you're right. Absolutely.
Like
So-
there's plenty of famous Black people, especially in the last 50 to 70 years.
Yeah. There's so many basketball players you could talk about.
I mean,
So, like
that's-
what? That's it
I mean,
now?
yeah, that's true.
Is that so? Like we're supposed to be done now? Like, yeah, we've had 70 years and that's it. Like, what do you?
I'm just talking the amount of time, because it's not like when
Yeah, but
stuff is
it's been
happening
too much
in
time
real
for you,
time.
PD.
That's when it happened in
Too much
that time. Like all of the Black accomplishments
time's up.
didn't happen in February.
We start with Frederick Douglass and then we end with LeBron James. There we go. That's all the
Right.
history you get.
oh boy.
But
Uh,
our general would prefer not to talk about any of that.
No, I think that the problem is, okay, as far as film goes, that I don't feel like they're making good quality across the board
Mm-hmm.
as far as representing anyone, right? They want to do an all black film, which is commendable, but you still have to have good writing, good actors, a good director.
Is
it's
it
good to have.
commendable to do an all-white film?
I mean, they've been doing that. So I
That's
mean,
not what I asked. I asked if it was commendable, not if they've been doing it.
I think it's commendable if you have an idea, no matter what it is. It's how you execute the idea and how it comes off.
You didn't answer the question.
Twice
Oh, I
in a
totally
row.
did. I totally did.
It's yes or no.
I gave a very honest Terrence answer.
Okay, thank you, Joe Biden. Or wait, no, that would be a butt gig answer. He doesn't answer questions.
No, that's Bernie Sanders.
No, I thought that was you tweeted it out during the last debate, was Pete Buttigieg doesn't know how to answer questions about Black people, considering he was exclusively putting them in jail.
Good point. Yeah, great example. So,
I pay attention to you,
Yeah.
cousin.
Yeah, you do. That was a real Pete Buttigieg answer by you, Mr. Zod.
It was.
Look, what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter about what the race being represented is. It should be how you construct your movie. And if you want to go with this idea, let's go with the best example for this to me is Jordan Peele. Like how he crafts and makes up his stories.
But he
You can-
asked you about a white movie.
I
The
mean,
answer is obviously yes. It's commendable.
I feel like there's no right way to answer that.
Zod is
There's
canceled.
definitely a right way to answer it. The honest way.
This is the way. Honesty.
This is
It's
the way.
easy. Your
I'm a
unicorn
fucking
is leaving.
villain.
You didn't notice her.
Oh,
This is
Bye.
the way. I have spoken.
Jesus. Bye. What a guy.
oh, but yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's doesn't matter necessarily so much the casting, but how you're conducting them. And to me, there hasn't been, when you get these directors and stuff, there hasn't been a very well constructed story. And I'm not the only one who has this critique. I mean,
Who else has that critique?
there's been some other people who've mentioned it.
Name one.
Who are these?
What's his
Name one
name?
who isn't a racist.
Wow. I'll get back to you on that.
I'll get back to you on that.
You sounded like
Sounds
we
about
got this
right.
covered.com right now.
Okay, LB, let me ask you, what was the last well acted, well constructed black movie that you have watched?
Black Panther.
Oh,
Dolomite is my name.
Okay, Dolomite is my name. That's a very good example, actually.
You're exposed. You're welcome.
I mean,
man.
you know,
It's all good, Mr. Zod. It's all good. I don't hate you. I love everybody.
oh boy. Now that I'm sweating and feeling uncomfortable, let's swing back to fans.
That's your favorite basketball movie, isn't it, LB? Even though you don't like Will Ferrell.
What?
What?
Which one?
What's the one where he buys the basketball team?
That's not basketball.
Semi-pro.
No.
Oh yeah.
Semi-pro.
The only Will
Oh, yeah.
Ferrell, the only Will Ferrell movie I like is Anchorman.
That
Oh,
shit is hilarious.
because in Semi-Pro, isn't that the movie with the line, everybody love everybody?
I don't know.
That sounds like the Aristocats.
It's definitely not that.
The only reason I love Anchorman is because when he kicked the dog off.
Yeah, that shit's hilarious.
Bruh, that is probably the top 5 funniest scene ever in my life.
Yeah,
That shit be
yeah, it's a good one.
He booted that dog.
The only time Kevin Hart was funny. Yep.
He was funny. He was funny in 40-Year-Old Virgin. But I agree. That's like the only time when no one knew. Who
Oh
he
wait, no,
was.
no, he wasn't for your version. I'm thinking about a different. Never mind. Never mind.
Oh no, he was in the movie.
Where the hell is he in 40-Year-Old Virgin?
He's in the store. He's complaining about something.
Yeah. He was
Oh, yeah.
He's going back and forth with Omar Epps.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He's like, you can set it off in here.
But for me, man.
What's up, Zod?
Yeah, Zod, you're kind of quiet over there, man.
You thinking about
I was
your
just,
internalized racism?
Yeah. Are you Googling black movies?
I don't have to, okay? I've seen Above the Rim.
Yeah, you haven't.
Above
you
the
haven't,
Rim came out 1994.
Wow.
You also haven't even asked the rest of us what our favorite black movies are.
Oh, I thought the question was, what was the most recent one that we watched?
Oh.
That was good.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Black
Who's your
Panther.
TV?
Like, all right.
It's probably the most recent one that I watched if we're talking black movies. Because I didn't watch Dolomite is My Name. I didn't watch Get Out or Us. Oh, what was the movie that just came out that was supposed to be like Bonnie and Clyde, but with black people?
Queen and Slim.
Queen and Slim.
Yep, did see
Excellent.
that
movie.
one. It looked good.
Does
But
Jumanji?
there's
does
definitely
Jumanji
way
count?
more white people movies that I haven't
Jumanji.
seen.
Probably.
No, Jumanji, I wouldn't count that because The Rock's not like all the way black.
Hey,
The Rock.
That reminds
just
me.
as black as the president was.
That reminds me
In
of
fact,
that
he's
Family
probably
Guy
blacker
skit.
than what Obama was, if you want to do the math.
Thank you, Jamie Vick. Boys in the Hood is an excellent movie. Love that movie.
Isn't
Of
that
course you
also
picked
from the
Boys in the
90s?
Boys in the Hood came out 91, I think.
But I mean, okay, the question is, what's our favorite black movie?
Yeah,
Cool Runnings.
that's a good one.
Damn you.
That's a good one.
I see
Damn
pride.
you took my answer.
I see power. I see a bad mother.
Like, easily. I mean, at the time that I first watched it when I was a kid, I probably wouldn't have been able to tell you that it was like a black movie. But
Man,
now that you watch it through the lens of today, it's definitely a black movie.
it's hard for me to pick. I'll probably say Friday,
Ooh.
Do the Right Thing,
Good Burger.
Ooh.
Coming to America,
Coming to
House
America,
Party,
that's
Set
great.
Off.
I feel like Crooklyn's underrated. I really like Crooklyn.
That had
don't
a
know that
fuck
one.
of a soundtrack.
Mhm.
That soundtrack is
I would probably say, I'd probably say Do the Right Thing.
What about you, Per?
Yeah. Friday after next. Next Friday.
Any
Friday.
Friday?
All the Friday movies.
I think Friday, that might have been the black movie
Yep.
I seen the most.
We talk about the ones we saw the most. Yeah, Friday.
I'm
No.
saying. I'm just saying.
Oh, but Dolomite is my name. That shit's so fucking hilarious. This hasn't come out yet, but I'm already gonna say it. Coming to America too.
Can't forget about Juice.
Yeah, Juice.
Oh God, that's a great movie.
State Property 1 and 2. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but those are
Yeah, I seen them.
incredible. Yeah, I like State Property 2 though more than 1. But Belly was alright.
Belly was pretty good. That was DMX when he was not all drugged out. Back when he had a decent run. But yeah, those are some pretty. See, but here's the thing though, with those movies now, look at the time frame for those movies we listed, and now look at recently. There's
Kevin Hart by every black man's job.
Whoa. Tiffany Haddish took some of them too.
Who? Tiffany Haddish.
Tiffany Haddish. I didn't say she was funny. That's not what I said.
Did you watch that roast? That All-Star roast? She was so corny. She was getting booed.
No, I did not.
Yeah, I don't understand her, man, at all.
Lord.
Well, wait, like there was a roast for the NBA All-Stars?
Yeah, they had Jeff Ross there too.
Well, then it was legit.
Uh-huh.
Shit, what can I find this on the
on
internet
YouTube.
somewhere?
It's on YouTube.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll have to check
Hey,
that one
hey,
out.
Perk,
I will
the-
definitely watch her get booed.
Does Lean on Me count as a black movie
Lean on Me.
with Morgan
No.
Freeman?
Wait. Lean on Me. Yeah, I know.
What is-
Oh my! I'm trying to. I guess I get no.
I
Halfway.
don't. What is Lean on Me?
I'd say
Don't
it's
you
a-
smoke crack?
It's a black movie.
You smoke crack? Don't you smoke crack?
Yeah, it's a black movie.
What about Remember the Titans? Would you put that in there?
No.
No, that's a
No.
football movie,
Yeah, that's different.
which doesn't necessarily make you a black movie.
But see, Now, here's the thing. I feel like there was a renaissance in the 90s and things like that where you were having these consistently good, well-made black films. And like now, look at this modern era where they're screaming about the representation, right? But what one did everyone think of? Black Panther. That was the only one that everyone said was good. And Trey Courtney in the comments said it was mediocre. I agree, Trey.
I like Top 5, the Chris Rock movie that came out in like 2014. That was all right. I liked it.
I mean, you know how these people do. They act like there was never any black movies made before Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, but we had great movies in the 90s era.
Nah, bro, don't try to salvage yourself now, okay?
Here's a
You're not
really
safe.
good one that I liked was actually I think it was a remake, Death at a Funeral with Chris Rock.
Yeah, that shit was hilarious.
Okay,
That
that's a good
Oh,
one.
that was pretty
Really
funny.
good. I think Jason Marsden was in that one.
Oh, Soul Man
Ooh.
with Bernie Mac and Samuel Jackson. That shit has me in tears every time.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
but when
probably
did that
the
come out?
outlier. I love Soul
That
Plane.
came out 08.
All right, okay. So that's in the 2000s.
Man, Zod's favorite black movie is probably Driving Miss Daisy.
Hey, hold on a second. That was a really great movie, though. I mean,
I
Morgan Freeman.
bet you think it's great, don't you?
Right, you take God
Why you
and
put
you
me on the
make him
spot?
drive around a little girl. Unbelievable. Like, you don't think God has more important things to do?
Sometimes.
Pretty much all the time.
My goodness. Oh, okay.
Jesus did not attend to any of them. Because that wouldn't be fun. No.
Well, on this very awkward note, let's start winding things down. I've got to go check my white privilege. We'll
Man,
go down the
Squirrel,
line here.
How did nobody say hello to Matt Squirrel? The comment
I did.
Hi,
I said,
Squirrel.
hey, squirrel.
I've been talking to Mad Skrill for like 4 hours tonight. I don't need to say.
Oh,
hi
you
to
were
him.
on the news podcast again?
Yeah.
Lucky.
I ain't say much for reasons that you'll have to find out.
Ooh, intrigue.
Please.
So let's go down the line, and we'll start with Justin. Short version, go.
Thank you for having me on. Goodbye.
Beautiful.
Before we fully wrap it, I have one more question for you, Mr. Zod. Who is your favorite black civil rights leader?
Mm.
Wow. Yeah.
Don't tell Obama.
Oh my god.
I'd have to say probably.
We'll say the obvious.
What point in history are we going?
Oh
Civil
my
rights
God.
movement, or are we going to?
Civil rights.
Or are we going further back?
It's a pretty specific period.
Then I'd have to go Malcolm X.
I already
Of
knew
I
course
this
know
was-
his
Of
approach.
course, he was going to say Malcolm X. Malcolm X or Martin Luther King.
What if he said Gandhi?
Mine's is Marcus Garvey.
That would have been funny.
And I felt his ideology was much better because I felt like maybe force was the better way to go. Even though ironically they both were assassinated, I say that like sometimes you just gotta be brutal to get shit done. But I'm a villain, so
Hey, Perp. I guess I shouldn't be surprised he didn't mention Fred Hampton.
Yeah. I was thinking he's gonna say George Washington Carver.
that's
I thought he was
wow.
Hey, no, I knew he was going to say either Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, or Jackie Robinson.
Ooh.
Jesse Jackson.
Jesse
My
Jackson.
favorite civil rights leader has probably got to be Shaq.
Okay. And let's, Justin, did you have anything that you wanted to promote? Jeez.
No, this is a lot more fun. Let's keep going.
No, I got shit to do. My face is all turning red with
He's got to
embarrassment.
get into the house and touch his unicorn horn.
You've just been exposed, Zod.
I get exposed on the daily about something, so it's nothing new here in the family. So, LB, go ahead and tell people about your channel. Maybe that's that awesome news podcast you were part of with a certain someone else who's in the chat.
Yeah, just want to let you all know that Black History Month was created because, it's Abraham Lincoln's birthday as well as Frederick Douglass' birthday in February. So that's a little Black history for you all.
Rosa Parks, too.
Just in case you did not know.
Yep.
So, but yeah, you can check me out on the Lonely Banter if you want some real blackness.
As opposed to
As opposed to faux blackness.
Yeah, faux blackness. Like you hear over here. Mr. The photograph sucks because black people's in it. But hey,
I never said it. Whoa. Hold on a second. I never said it sucked because of the black people in it. I said it sucked because of the acting in it.
You didn't say it was you didn't say the black actors carried the movie despite a bad script or directing.
That's because they didn't.
See,
they weren't given anything to work with.
He just proved it. He just proved it.
I'm not gonna give a critique where I'm saying they carried it when they were the worst parts of it.
Wow. Wow.
The two leads. Okay. Not that they were not because they were black. The two leads.
Wow.
The people who were in charge of making me believe in the love story were terrible.
I got to see this for myself because Issa Rae is actually a good actress. And
Dog,
in this movie.
I just presented some black history, and this man just poo-pooed all over that. Wow. No. I have nothing else to say, man.
Hashtag
oh my God. Okay.
Hashtag villains be racist.
Oh, gee.
Hashtag end Black History Month already.
Oh man, I'm tweeting this out later and telling people to just jump to the last 30 minutes.
Or jump to an hour and
right. First
12.
jump to an hour 12, listen for a minute, then jump to the last 30 minutes.
Yep. Oh Jesus. Perp, go ahead and tell him.
Hey, Jesus is black, by the way. Oh, my bad. No, he's not. He's not.
Yeah, that offends people like Zod.
Jesus was the first person with 360 waves. He was the first one. He was the first one with the Jerry curl. He was the first one with the high top.
General Zod probably wrote a letter to Adult Swim every day telling them to cancel on Black Jesus TV show.
Hilarious. But yeah,
I bet you got scared whenever you turned on Cartoon Network and you saw the Boondocks.
No, that's great. No, that is a funny ass show. That is hilarious.
Oh, now you're appeasing. Okay, cool.
Uncle Ruckus is his favorite character.
Appeasing. You see him, Papa? You see him, bro?
Yeah, I know.
We've gone full circle.
Oh my God.
Hey, that really brought you're right. It brought this entire chat full circle, right there. General Zod is appeasing to African Americans.
He's trying to make mistakes, but
no, Zod,
just because you like the Boondocks or claim to like it doesn't mean it's going to make anything you said tonight better.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for saying African American, Zod. I mean people of color.
Or colored people.
Yeah, you really, LB, you should definitely apologize. Thank you. I appreciate. I accept your apology. Oh my God, oh, I can't believe that. How absurd! Can you imagine somebody apologizes? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to use African American. Like, dude, you're black. Why are you apologizing? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of colored people, I am perp. And I don't condone anything that this man General Zod says about black people. We don't support that. Maybe he needs to do his Googles tonight and read up on his Black history so he doesn't get caught.
Yes.
But it's been fun. This was a pretty good talk. Have fun. See y'all later. I don't got nothing coming as far as I know.
All right. And the co-host, the commander, and the person who just is supposed to get me out of this shit, Mr. P.
No.
Go
I'm
ahead
not here to save you. I'm here to save the stream. There's a difference.
If you fail, then okay.
Right. Like if you're failing, that's perfectly fine. Like that'll bring people into the stream because Tommy will be like, hey, everybody, come watch Zod fail. And the people will flock in droves. But when Zod's just reading everything perfectly and not adding the letter R where it's not supposed to be, or tonight taking it away where it's supposed to be in, like that's a new problem. Anyway, that's a different point. That's a totally different point. I'm PB. You can find me at Pop Culture PB, YouTube and Twitter. I make funny videos. Go watch one.
And they're not racist.
Fact.
At least not all of them.
And this has been General Zod here in the fandom zone.
Racist.
I'm not racist, but I will be making a non-racist critique on the photograph because it's the only movie that's come out that I've watched. I'm not going to give it a glowing
in all
review.
of your thumbnails. A non-racist review.
I love how you have to try to justify that. It's not racist.
But it should be fun and interesting to see what my comments will look like. I'm going to be doing a review on Call of the Wild, Invisible Man, and the other movie that's coming out that I've just forgotten about.
Spoiler, he's going to give them all 8s or 7s.
No, probably not.
Just to be nice.
No, probably not. I mean, I don't have high hopes. Call the Wild, I probably will get a good score.
He's going to give the photograph a 2 for the month February for Black History Month.
Oh, he's going to give it a bad score in honor of Black History Month. Oh, okay.
Oh my God! All right.
Now he's really trying to appease a little too much.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Like I think it's gone too far.
It never goes too far here in the fandom zone. If you guys are enjoying this, hit that like button. I'm at 384 subs, so thank you everybody. Seriously, I appreciate it. And if you enjoy more non-racist conversation here in the fandom zone, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you want to hear a non-racist ruler of Earth talking about the topics that matter that have nothing to do with race. Go ahead and subscribe to Zod.
I think you're going to have to change your channel name from General Zod to General Frieza or Emperor Frieza.
And as always, remember the only rule here in the fandom zone: Zod is not racist.
Oh, that's a new rule.
White power.
Oh, I can't believe we had to write that down.